Monument Plaza was packed a little while ago. Now all those fans have made their way inside the Dover International Speedway as the field for race 3 of the chase is rolling from the pit lane and out onto the Monster Mile, getting ready to go for 400 laps. Championship standings, Matt Kenseth with a 14th place on the racetrack advantage over Kyle Busch. Jimmie Johnson just a little further back. And then a chunk of drivers who could use a good day today to make up ground, including our ESPN in-race reporter, Carl Edwards. He starts 4th today, DJ.
Good afternoon, Carl Edwards, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a minute to talk?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Our first question comes from Mailbag, and one of your fans, Doug from Omaha, Nebraska, asked, you're known for running well on concrete tracks. How can you use Dover to your advantage to gain ground on the top 3 in points?
Well, Doug, hopefully we've got a good setup. Hopefully that the pit crew does what they've been doing. They've been the fastest guys on pit road, and I think that's going to make a big difference. But this track is a lot like, I-80 Speedway up there in Omaha. It's a track where you can run at the very bottom, the middle, or the top. So all day it'll be about getting the car perfect, driving it perfectly, and hopefully getting past and all the victory lane.
Hey, Carl, you talk about getting it to drive perfect, but we hear so many times the change in this racetrack from when you practiced yesterday and had a lot of your practice on Friday to today. How do you go through those times whenever it's not the best?
It's funny you mentioned the change, and we're hoping that the track changes a lot because practice was no good for us, a lot like last week in New Hampshire. So we're hoping that the sun comes out, that rubber builds up, and the groove moves all over the place because it's if it's like practice, I think we're in trouble. So that change is going to help us, I hope.
All right, Carl, thanks for talking with us. We'll look forward to talking to you later on. Have a great day.
Dale.
Carl Edwards, our ESPN in-race reporter today, starting in 4th position. Great high-definition onboard views for you today from Danica Patrick's car with our GoDaddy on board. Clint Boyer has the Raspberry 5-hour Energy camera. And Kyle Busch has the Sprint on board.
All right, 400 miles. Keep up the good work.
Dave Rogers, little pep talk for Kyle and company. Matt Kenseth, championship leader, has the Fresh from Florida on board. Jeff Gordon with the Goodyear on board. Ryan Newman, the State Water Heaters on board. Jimmie Johnson has the Chevy on board.
Jimmy, just one more thing to take notice of. Remember, the black line is the outside of the pit box. On the concrete, the black line, not the black top to concrete.
Attention to detail from Chad Knaus. And our final on board with our in-race reporter, Carl Edwards, has the Fastenal on board today. Reminder that you can check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy for enhanced race coverage from Dover today with 10 HD live race views, live chat, and live leaderboard. And while they work the rest of the pace laps, we check in on pit road one final time in the quiet. Here's Dave Burns.
I don't know about that. Here they come through turn 4 on their warm-up laps. What do you do with a substantial championship lead, which Matt Kenseth has? Well, you keep beating that drum. Crew Chief Jason Ratcliffe told me this morning that we're not going to change anything. We still expect to win every single week, and you have to, quote, stay aggressive. Winning the chase is going to take wins. Dr. Jerry Punch?
Folks, Kyle Busch is tired of hearing the phrase "in spite of." For example, in spite of finishing second in the first 2 chase races, he lost 11 points to his teammate and current points leader Matt Kenseth. In spite of leading the most laps in the last 2 Dover Cup races, he didn't win. Now, would he rather hear someone say, hey, in spite of starting 14th today, he roared to the front and won his first ever chase race at Dover? That's an in spite of he wouldn't mind. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, after sliding through his pit box while leading and finishing 15th a week ago, Jeff Gordon took full blame. But he told me before he got in the car, his attitude and approach will remain the same. Just go for it. This is the chase. Everybody on this team must step up, and that is exactly what they have to do today, starting back in 16th. Vince Welch.
Here's the good news for Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans. Crew Chief Steve Letarte says in practice the 88 car was as good as you could ever hope for here at Dover. The practice is over, and now the 400-mile challenge has begun. Junior has got to maneuver through the traffic successfully, and Letarte has to keep up with this ever-changing track. And if that happens, Alan, could have us a Junior Nation celebration today, and Junior could bring this monster to its knees.
At number 88's out there, Vince. We'll see. NASCAR added a lap because it took a little bit to get the field off the pit lane and formed up and get their pit road speeds checked and all that. So we got 1 to go here when they come to the start-finish line this time. Beautiful views today from above from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. One more view for you today will come from our over-the-wall camera. Jack Mann for A.J. Allmendinger in the 47. Mike Klein is carrying that for us today. And Mike, that transition of getting onto pit road is going to be a handful, huh?
It definitely is for the drivers coming up at turn 4, especially under green flag stops. It's really easy to get busted for speeding on pit road, and it's also a very tight pit road. So obviously it should be action-packed here at the Monster Mile today. Hopefully we can get this House Autry Toyota up to the front, put it on a good show for you guys.
Dinger's really good at this racetrack. Have a great day today, Mike. Thanks for carrying our camera.
Thanks a lot. Happy to help out.
A.J. Allmendinger starting 17th today.
I thought that was interesting. You heard Jimmy Johnson's crew chief Jack Knaus talking about the lines on the pit boxes. The boxes are actually concrete, so they're white. If you put white paint, you don't see them. So they put black paint on them, but you see there's a line there with the asphalt. A lot of times, the drivers will kind of get that mixed up with the outside edge of the pit box. I've seen that many times cause penalties, and it's a very narrow pit box, so it's hard to get into. So like you said, it's kind of all about the details, and Chad's all over that.
Be a lot of action on the pit lane today, and it's been crucial in determining the outcome of the last handful of races here. I mean, it's always crucial, but specifically strategy in 4 of the last 5 outcomes. Math today's simple. It's a 1-mile track, 400-mile race, so 400 laps. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., the pole sitter, choosing the outside lane for the start. Matt Kenseth won the first 2 in the chase, going for an unprecedented 3rd straight to open the championship, is inside of row 1. Junior leading lap 1, Kenseth and Edwards for second, and did you see Kyle Busch go 3 wide in those first couple of corners?
Yeah, somebody's got to tell him that this is 400 miles. He thinks it's a sprint race.
He made up 4 spots in the first lap.
Well, it is a sprint.
Well, I've got that.
Race.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Oh, that kind of sprint.
Short race.
Got it. Fight now is for 3rd spot. Kenseth has gotten clear in 2nd. It's Edwards in 3rd, feeling some heat from Ryan Newman and Brad Keselowski. Martin Truex, 56. A home race for Truex, New Jersey native. Big charity fundraiser up in his hometown. Saw the opening of a pediatric care center that his foundation donated the money for. How he'd love to cap that week off with a win.
I see these battles all day long as drivers try to utilize that inside. These cars have a lot of horsepower, sometimes overpowering this racetrack. But it's really difficult to use all of that when you're down on the inside trying to make that pass. You need all the room on the exit of these corners, but makes it a challenge.
Yeah, early in the run, they'll have enough grip to really get down on the throttle hard without it breaking loose. But as the tires get laps on them, they have to start pedaling that thing off the corner, or it will just completely bust the tires loose.
22 Joey Logano, 78 Kurt Busch. Joey Logano winning an unprecedented 4th consecutive NASCAR Nationwide Series race here at the Monster Mile on Saturday. And Kurt Busch, after a tough race last week in New Hampshire, where he finished 13th, trying to regain a little momentum and keep his championship hopes alive.
Yeah, that's tough for everybody that thinks they're going to make you up any points here today with Matt Kenseth, and these 2 drivers right here are Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson, because these may be the best of each of those drivers' tracks. And Jimmy Johnson, his 7 wins, and Kyle Busch 2 wins, and Matt Kenseth, that's going to be hard to make up unless these guys just find trouble all at the same time.
Kyle running 7th and Johnson 8th there, while Kenseth runs 2nd, and we talked about it in Countdown. These 3 drivers' record here, just incredible. Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch, between them, have led the most laps in the last 9 straight Dover races. Jimmy 7 of them, Kyle 2. Between those 2 drivers.
Yeah. And obviously Jimmie Johnson being a 5-time champ has to be good everywhere, but exceptional might be the word that comes to mind here. It's just he attacks this racetrack, and that's what you have to do. But on the other side, like we talked about yesterday with Joey Logano, you have to know the feel that you're looking for in the race car, and until you win, you don't know exactly what you're looking for in practice. Jimmie Johnson knows exactly what he's looking for.
Montoya by Kurt Busch. Here's Jeff Gordon challenging for a spot. This is now 13th place that Kurt's holding and trying to defend. And a big day for Jeff Gordon also at a track that's been good for him. The last 2 times here, he's finished 2nd and 3rd. And after that slip up while contending for the win at New Hampshire last Sunday, Gordon needs a big bounce back.
See Kurt Busch struggling just a little bit. I talked to Todd Berrier, his crew chief, this morning. Said that they had an average race car, that they were going to have to work on it and work hard to get a good finish today.
Giving up that 13th spot. Jeff Gordon moving up. Kurt Busch sliding back. Dale Earnhardt Jr. got the lead on the first lap. He is the early pace setter at the Monster Mile in the 888 400 at Dover. Race fans, think you know something about speed? Buckle your seatbelt and play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge. Text FAST to 34763 and predict who'll have the fastest times in today's race. Brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T. Rethink possible. Early going at Dover, Dale Earnhardt Jr. started on pole, has led all the laps so far. He's just caught the tail end of the field and begun to put a couple of cars a lap down. Timmy Hill and Joe Nemechek. Junior's got a 1-second lead on Matt Kenseth. There is Matt with a little slide there in the orange 20.
Yeah, he's usually one of the ones that's more calm on the exit of that corner. So if he's starting to get that feeling just a little bit, we can only imagine what we'll see from some others as Jimmie Johnson finally able to take this 6th spot away from Martin Truex.
Only worked on him for about 10 laps. Truex was running a higher line. Jimmy was trying to find a way underneath him, and he just couldn't get clear enough to slide up in front. So Jimmy up to 7th, Martin back to 8th, and there's Kyle Busch, 9th place in the 18 car, started in 14th.
And he passed 7 cars right in the first 2 laps.
As I was about to say, yeah.
Has lost that spot to Jimmie Johnson, so he's kind of stabilized. But, man, on fresh tires, he'll be somebody to keep an eye on here throughout the day.
He was ready to go when they said go.
It's almost like he had a plan. He slept on that all night thinking, how am I going to make up this track position? And he did it pretty quickly.
Early race update on Kyle Busch from Doc.
Yeah, they were very free and happy hour yesterday, which really concerned them. So Dave Rogers made some changes this morning. Rodney Alcal's complaining the car very bad, tight, center, off of turn 2. He said in really tight, climbing the hill, getting up off of turn 4, so it just won't turn. That's why the 48 slipped by pretty easily.
One of the things I talked to a lot of crew chiefs about is that there's really an offset between practice and the race and how the conditions are. And usually the cars are freer in the race, so they have to make that adjustment. They have to predict that. And it sounds like Dave Rogers did predict that the track would be a little looser, but maybe over-adjusted a little bit.
And I'd rather my crew chief do that to me at the beginning of the race. If I'm going to be tight, and I know that I can somewhat compete with a tight race car, as we start to free it up, it's only going to make it faster and drive better at the same time. So I'd rather be on that side of it to start this race. I know looking around this racetrack, I see some very evil race cars out there, though. These drivers are working extremely hard.
See Jamie McMurray in the 1 climbing in to join this race. Terrific run at New Hampshire last Sunday for McMurray. Top 5 finish after getting spun early in the race and doing some damage to the back end of the car. But they kept after it and came back for one of their best results of the year.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of signs from Jamie McMurray and this race team throughout the year of picking up a lot of speed and being able to compete at a much higher level. And it's good to see. Jamie's a good race driver.
Now look at this lap traffic that Dale Jr.'s caught.
Yeah, they've been arguing over space quite a bit in this group that he's getting ready to encounter. It'll be interesting to see what happens whenever the leader gets there.
Dave Blaney 7. 51 is Ryan Truex, Martin's younger brother. And you're looking from Danica Patrick's bumper cam.
Well, he's right in the middle of it now, isn't he?
and he's going to give up the lead.
Well, Matt thinks he's got a clear shot. It looks like he's going to take that opportunity for a minute. Wow. You know, we talked about this in the Nationwide race yesterday. You don't expect it quite as much with the Cup cars because these guys usually are a little more competitive and a little more knowledgeable of where the leaders are and giving them the room to race, but certainly played into effect already. Good again today.
Such a momentum racetrack, too. You saw Junior had a pretty good lead. Just got held up for a moment. Right then when Kenseth just ran right up to him.
Yeah, you have to crack the throttle, and you're easy getting up out of the throttle. Next thing you know, a second's gone in no time.
Lead was about a second and a quarter. Junior's was over Kenseth when Junior caught that traffic, and like you said, it went away just like that.
Yeah, it kind of breaks your rhythm as a driver then because your car doesn't act right for a minute, so then you're taking the opportunity to say, okay, I think everything's still okay, but is there something wrong? Now you've got to get back up to speed and know that your car is still there under you.
And looking for a way to maybe get the lead back is Junior. While he chases Matt Kenseth, we'll check up on the 88 with Vince.
Well, in maneuvering that traffic is one thing Steve Letarte said he was going to address with Junior before the race because he felt like they needed to err on the side of aggressive when encountering lap traffic. So we'll see how that progresses throughout the race. It was only a few laps in before Junior said the car was too tight for his liking, so they'll look to adjust on that when that first stop comes.
Vince, based on the early laps of this race, if you're going to race for the lead, you are going to have your hands full with lap traffic today because the field got spread out in a hurry. Got to run here.
I think Kenseth saw that as a great opportunity to get that bonus point out of the way of leading a lap. And plus, he just likes racing here. You know, this place, because of it being so wide and it's going to continue to widen out throughout the day, it gives you the opportunity to do some side-by-side racing, which is fun and what the drivers like to do.
Yeah, when you can trust somebody to race side-by-side like you can with Junior.
So again, in lap traffic, the lead changes hands, and Dale Jr. is back out in front. June race ran caution-free for the first 80 laps. Well, we're not going to go 80 laps before the first caution this time around at Dover. Yellow flag for debris. That looks like a spring rubber out of somebody's suspension.
Pretty good size one, too.
So somebody's going to be missing that.
Yeah, that's probably going to change their car a little bit.
So we're under caution for the first time here at Dover. While the pit road is closed, reminder that tonight you can see the final eliminations of the AAA Insurance and HRA Midwest Nationals from St. Louis. That's at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. And next weekend's NASCAR actions from Kansas City. The NASCAR Nationwide Series Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN. Virtual dead heat in the championship race there. And race 4 in the chase next Sunday. Telecast presented by Dodge Trucks. We're on ESPN starting at 1 Eastern time from Kansas City.
Track racers had a long day. They qualified at 1 a.m., didn't they?
Yeah.
I think it was just on TV at 1.
Oh, nice. I thought that's a long time.
So story of this race so far, Dale Jr. and Matt Kenseth swapping the lead a couple of times in lap traffic, and now, Andy, 37 laps in.
Yeah, this is an opportunity for 2 tires because they're only going to take 1 can of fuel. And we may see some 4-tire guys, but this is a time that I'd want to get 2.
You said the guy that won earlier this year got 4 every time.
Yeah, but he needs to get 2 now. Okay. Dave.
20 car will take 4. They'll get a chassis adjustment for a car that started loose and went tight, full of Sunoco fuel. Jamie Little.
38 laps. Carl Edwards' 99 car has changed. Making the call as we speak. 4 tires. They will make a chassis adjustment for loose condition is the complaint.
All the way down to the other end of the pit lane, Ryan Newman coming in. Newman is a little bit too tight center and loose off, so they're going to make a slight air pressure adjustment, make a 4-tire change on the 39. As for the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., chassis adjustment a little too snug for Jr., but he said don't free it up too much. A 4-tire change for the 88 as well.
Going to see some track position exchanged here.
Kyle goes for 2. Like Boyer probably did too.
So Kyle Busch is going to go to the head of the line on the Monster Mile when we restart. Doubled up for the restart for the chase race number 3 at Dover. Watch this. Martin Truex would have been the leader on the pit lane. Watch him there coming up to the inside of Kyle Busch, but then Casey Mears is going to his pit box.
Close call.
Martin has to hit the brakes. Now Kyle's the leader. Martin is third.
See most of the day that inside line just not the place that you want to restart. That 9 degrees of banking and the camber in these that they have in the rear ends of these cars really makes a big difference here and hard to get up to speed.
But why is it the inside that doesn't have the grip? Because that's not where the racing line is and there's not as much rubber there?
And I think it's probably, yes, part of that. And then you've got the control car now taking the outside most of the time because they know it's more difficult down there to restart on that inside.
So new leader Kyle Busch, Kyle, Truex, McMurray, Montoya, and Boyer, right sides only on their pit stops to gain some track position.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how this works. I'm sure all the other crew chiefs are watching too, just to see how fast these cars can be just on right side tires after having about 35, 40 laps on the left.
Dale Jr. and Matt Kenseth went from first and second to fifth and sixth for the restart. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon racing here for 10th and 11th with Brad Keselowski joining in.
Keselowski was really excited about the prospects of him going to victory lane here today. Fast race car in practice yesterday.
Yeah, I talked to the guys in the garage this morning. They were really confident. Said the driver was also.
Been 1 year since Brad Keselowski won. This race a year ago, last time he won.
Hard to imagine. He had a lot of good things obviously happen in that time in winning a championship, but hasn't had the best of racing luck at a lot of the times this year when they've had good cars.
That was leading in Atlanta when the engine went on his car.
Yeah, it's not like he hasn't been competitive. He's had a lot of good races this year, just not the fortune of winning.
Jimmy Johnson up. Carl Edwards back a spot. That was 9th place they just traded. Look at that climb. And the drop.
This is such a great shot right here, just to give you an idea. I mean, they're close to 180 miles per hour as they enter this part, and it really feels like the track just falls away from you.
And you get the opposite effect on the exit of the corner. What happens is they're all loaded up, and then when they bounce up or come up off the corner on the straightaway, they unload. And that's one reason you'll actually hear the engines rev up. The back tires will break loose because they just don't have the force on them.
14-foot elevation change from the top of the straightaway to the bottom of the corner. And when you're one of the pit crew men or even a reporter down there in those first few pits down at the entrance to turn 1, the cars are above your head coming down the racetrack. And it's the most amazing thing.
This kind of gives you a sense, too. You see the straightaways, how banked they are just from this camera. Just fall right down into the corner. The car really loads up all the suspension, basically at max compression.
And even though the driver can see a little more than where our camera is angled there, you have a hard time. You've only got a small part of that windshield that you're looking out driving around this racetrack. And that's why when things do happen here, there's not a lot of time. Between the speed that you're carrying and the limited visibility that you have from inside the car there makes it difficult to avoid anything that may happen.
Clint Boyer running 5th.
I have to imagine, too, Dale, the G-forces of a 400-lap race here has to take its toll.
It's a very physically demanding race. There's no doubt. Back when it was 500 miles, it was probably the toughest race that you encountered as a driver. For that less 100 miles that you have now, but it's still very difficult. Sits you down in the seat hard, picks you up out of the seat as you come up out of the corner. So it's hard work here.
Yeah, because the cars are so much faster. I mean, the forces are higher now, even though the laps are shorter. These cars are, how much faster? 15 miles an hour faster than they were 5 years ago?
Absolutely.
10 years ago?
Jimmy Johnson's got a fast car. Just took a spot from Matt Kenseth. Johnson up to 8th. Here is 2nd place. Ryan Newman just passing Juan Pablo Montoya, and Newman moving up. Damon McMurray with a run on Montoya also. Remember that these two Ganassi teammates, it was contact from Montoya that sent McMurray into the wall early in the race in New Hampshire last Sunday. And McMurray went on to recover for that top 5 run. And on the other side, Montoya was leading this race in June with 10 laps to go. And got passed by Tony Stewart with 3 to go and had to settle for 2nd.
Yeah, it really looked like he was going to get that first oval track victory, but just wasn't to be that day. Jimmy Johnson picking up another spot, moving forward with his tires.
you think about somebody like a Keselowski or a Montoya, and you think if they'd have gotten that win that day, how it might have changed the whole story around. The story of their season, or in Montoya's case, the fact that he's now leaving NASCAR racing and going back to IndyCar at the end of the year, when his offer to continue in this car, he was not offered the opportunity to continue in this car for next year.
And you have to think that has something to do with it. And, he's a winning race driver. He expects to win. See Kenseth now going by Truex. I think the 4 tires will win out in this, although Kyle Busch has gotten a pretty big lead on these guys right now.
Yeah, I think they will, too. And the one car that I'm watching that's kind of surprised me on the 4 tires is that 39 of Ryan Newman. He's restarted 8th on 4 tires, but he's able to drive all the way to 2nd. I was kind of expecting maybe Kenseth or Johnson or maybe even Junior to be the car that could go, blast up there and maybe take the lead back from the guys on 2 tires.
I think it has a lot to do with the lane that you restart in and what moves and what goes. And that's how you can make a lot of spots in a hurry. And then that allows you to pick them off one by one instead of like Jimmy and Kenseth back here having to take their time and move up through the pack.
It's funny, Jimmy Johnson talked about that earlier in the weekend when he met the media on Friday. He was talking about the race at New Hampshire last Sunday that, just drew the wrong lane for that last restart. Otherwise, he might have been the one instead of Matt Kenseth that won the race. As it was, Jimmy started to the inside, Matt to the outside, and Matt went by him and went on to win. Kyle Busch went by everybody on the pit lane and is making the most of it, stretching out to a 2-second lead early at Dover. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series running 400 miles at Dover's Monster Mile today. Still pretty early in the going, just 65 laps in, and Kyle Busch is the race leader at the moment. Kyle up 0.7 of a second on Ryan Newman, with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jamie McMurray, and Jimmy Johnson filling out the top 5. Time for unlimited access to the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with the NASCAR Mobile 13 app and unlimited talk, text, and data on the Sprint Network. Clint Bowyer, biggest mover today, the lowest starting of the chase drivers. But a little pit strategy call by Brian Patty gained him a big chunk of those positions on the only pit stop of the race so far. With unlimited access to the NASCAR Mobile 13 app with the unlimited My Way plan, guaranteed for life and only from Sprint. See sprint.com/speed for details.
I think Bowyer's going to be the winner of the 2-tire guys. We do see Kyle Busch out there on 2 tires leading the race, but he's a couple 3/10 off of a lot of fast cars that are catching him right now. So I'm not sure it was a good move for him, but it was for Clint Bowyer.
I think even in Kyle Busch's thing, it gave them an idea of what to expect from the race car and what could they maybe have to adjust as they saw something later on. Plus, it got them the bonus point for leading the lap.
Now, speaking of adjustments, Jeff Gordon back there now running in 9th position. He's picked up several spots in these last handful of laps. An interesting progression because a little bit before that, we heard this on his radio.
I got no moves whatsoever. I'm so tight. I couldn't go high, low, or anything. I'm just going to follow. I can't do shit.
Well, sometimes you just get mad and decide you got to drive it, and you find somewhere else to run, and it looks like Jeff's changed his line a little bit. And I'm sure the air pressure's being down. They might have to adjust on that a little bit, but it looks like Jeff's car's come around now.
Started running high in 3 and 4 and passed Carl Edwards and Martin Truex and so on in succeeding laps. Here's the lead. Ryan Newman and Dale Jr. have caught Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I think his 2 tires didn't agree with the setup on the 18. I think he was already I think it was tight. Maybe they loosened him up a little bit, put 2 tires on it. Looked like may have over-adjusted it. Seen him sideways a couple of times.
That was Dave Blaney in the 7 coming onto the pit lane. 2nd place. Kyle trying to defend it from Dale Jr. Let's check on the 18 with Doc.
Yeah, you heard Kyle mention earlier that he goes ways up the racetrack and he had been tight in the middle. And then as the traffic evolved, he said, I'm getting loose on entry and loose on exit. They came in and put 2 right side tires because in happy hour, 2 right side tires tightened the car up. And right now, Kyle says, I'm really, really loose on landing that in turns 1 and 2.
About the only racetrack you use that term, on landing.
Yeah, on landing, that's exactly right. I think, though, a lot of times I can remember back, this hasn't changed a whole lot, that what you did in practice, what you may have found with 2 tires in that type of situation is not what you find in this racetrack when it comes race day. At a nationwide race yesterday, every driver that we heard yesterday that tried 2 tires talk about it really freed their race car up. We're seeing that again right here with Kyle Busch's car.
Yeah, this 88 car's for real. It's starting to run down Newman now.
Had that engine failure in the opener of the chase at Chicagoland. 35th place finish. Really put a hurting on his championship hopes. What's in it for them now? Win, and see how Talladega comes out.
Yeah, you can win 3 races. You might find yourself right back in the middle of this. It's going to be tough because of Kenseth and Johnson and Kyle Busch. They perform at such a high level, but that's all you can try to do. And we heard Junior after he won the pole on Friday talk about they came off the truck fast, and it allowed him as a driver just to adjust to the track and do the things they need to do to be fast. That also makes the rest of your weekend go much more smoothly, and you can get a lot more accomplished.
Well, just look at the run. Wow. That car looks good.
And when that thing turns like that and you can nail the throttle, this place is fun then.
So 3rd time in the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the leader. And again, heavy lap traffic for these guys up front.
Yeah, and the thing is, you talk about the lap traffic, you know, you're running quite a bit faster, so you approach them quick, but you see these cars not handling well, and obviously you've caught them this quick, you know they're not handling well. They're not exactly sure where they're going, so it's hard for you to anticipate what to expect from them.
Vince's report from the pit lane that Steve Letarte was talking with Junior today about being aggressive in the lap traffic, and yet when you see a car ill-handling in front of you like that you're closing on at a great rate of speed, it's got to make you cautious, just naturally, right?
Well, my instinct is, now crew chief may say that, yeah, you got to really attack, but at this point in time of the race, and my race car's this good, I'm going to give them some extra feet right now. Now, maybe later on, if we're in a green flag run to the end of the race and I've got to approach them, then yeah, I've just got to go diving in there and do whatever it takes to keep whoever's chasing me behind me.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do right now with a car as good as this one is bang it up, hit the fenders, let one of these lap cars force you into a situation you don't want to be in.
Let's get more on Junior's team from Vince.
They did free it up just a tick during that first pit stop, but otherwise Junior has been really happy with the race car. You know, these guys finished 10th here in June, and Steve Letarte said we weren't very good and still finished 10th. That's why they were so optimistic coming into this race, because they have been so much better throughout this weekend. They did indeed feel coming into this race they were going to be a contender to win it. We've seen nothing but that here so far, guys.
Vince, I think a trend we've seen early in the race today and actually through the weekend, including yesterday's nationwide race, if you're good, you're really good, and if you're off, you're really off. 80 laps in the books out of 400 today at Dover. Dale Jr., Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, Jimmie Johnson, and Matt Kenseth, your top 5. Early going at today's AAA 400 at Dover for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Dale Earnhardt Jr. started on pole at the opening 25 laps. Got caught in a little lap traffic. Matt Kenseth went by Jr. for a bit. Then Jr. got the lead back from Kenseth in that same lap traffic. Gave it up on a pit stop when his team took 4 tires. Kyle Busch's and a few others took 2, but Junior charged back through and took the lead just a little bit ago from Ryan Newman, and that's where we stand right now at Dover. Just the 1 caution for 5 laps so far in the race, that caution for debris, and we've got 29 of the cars on the lead lap. All 43 starters are still on the track. So Dale Jr. leading the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race on a Sunday. A minute to talk about Monday Night Football with a battle of undefeated teams this week. Ryan Tannehill leading the Dolphins into the Superdome against Drew Brees and the Saints. Coverage starting tomorrow night with Monday Night Countdown at 6:30. Then Miami, New Orleans at 8:25 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. Or what are you supposed to say? New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah. Tough place to win down there.
Yeah, it is. Jimmie Johnson rolling forward at Dover. Started 8th, just took 2nd from Ryan Newman. What a shock.
Yeah, eventually the cream does rise to the top.
Jimmie trying to become the all-time leading winner in Sprint Cup competition at this track today. Tied with Richard Petty and Bobby Allison with 7 victories each. And Jimmy certainly on a roll at this racetrack over the last 6-7 years.
Now, you want to talk about a gauge of talent. These kind of racetracks, this is one of the toughest racetracks. I've never driven here, Dale, but I've got to think it's probably one of the toughest racetracks to drive.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's why you see names like Richard Petty, Bobby Allison at the top of the list, and Jimmy Johnson there now with them and trying to put them in his rearview mirror. But it's just incredible. I mean, physically you have to be ready. And Jimmy Johnson works as hard as anyone in this sport at that. And if you can stay fit physically in these race cars, that keeps you sharp mentally and you're able to do the job. Not to mention that as others that maybe don't work as hard on their physical conditioning, as this race winds down, you get into that last 100 miles of this race, whenever it is difficult, if you're better, that's just like making a great adjustment on your race car.
By the way, Jimmy side by side with Juan Pablo Montoya for the race lead on that last restart in June when Jimmy got penalized for jumping the start. Restart rules clarified a couple of weeks ago. Jimmy said this weekend he thinks that that restart and a few others that he's been involved in helped bring about that clarification of the rules.
Yeah, if after that hiccup, he would have the all-time win lead here.
Yeah. More on Mr. 5-Time from Mr. Burns.
Well, and DJ, question, on a good day, when you were physically and mentally fit, did you ever use the word fun to describe driving Dover?
Yeah, I have a few times, Dave.
He has this weekend already, and you caught a glimpse of it yesterday in final practice when he said, this car is fun to drive. I feel like we're in the ballpark. And based on just the minor air pressure adjustment during their first stop for the car that was a little bit loose off and the way he's going forward, I'd say he's having one of those fun and good days.
You've got about 98% of them beat right there if you can say your car's fun to drive around here.
Here's 4th place. Woo! With a lap car slowing to go to the pit lane.
A little adjustment you have to do there, and that looked rather calm, but you have to understand that you're carrying speeds of over 150 miles per hour right at that point and see that car that you've got to dodge all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think Kyle Busch is going to have more fun when they get 4 tires on this car. Now, I've heard those kind of comments before, and it's like scooting the front tires. You turn the wheel and you get a little bit of response from it. You turn a little bit more and you get less. And that's probably what he's talking about.
More of that feedback Ray Evernham was talking about in Countdown. Giving the crew chief feedback he needs to make the adjustments you need on your race car.
And understanding the situation here that right now all the cars in front of him got 4 tires on that last time. They did what they needed to do at this point in time of the race. Got them in that position, but giving the information they're going to need when they get ready to put 4 tires on this 18 car.
Of the 5 cars that took just the right side tires on that first set of pit stops, only 2 are left in the top 10. Kyle Busch is one of them, Clint Boyer's the other. And they're running 5th and 6th. Green flag pit stops will be coming up shortly. Dale Jr. is out in front at Dover. Past the quarter distance in today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race at the Monster Mile Dover International Speedway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been pretty dominant in this early stretch of the race, leading 65 of the 106 laps so far. Coming up on another set of pit stops with Earnhardt leading Jimmy Johnson by 3.9 seconds. Matt Kenseth running in 3rd in the 20 car, 6 seconds back.
I hate the front tires and they hate me. But at this point around, it's more about the rears. I'm just driving it with the rears right now.
Hey, somebody driving it with the rear. What does that really, what's he really saying there?
Well, things have changed. Whenever the tires are good and you can drive off in the corner, your car will rotate with the front tires making the car do what you want to. By this time, you've lost a lot of that grip. He's backed the corner up. Now he's driving the car around the corner, getting it pointed with the rear tires, with the throttle. And things that you have to go through in a run, and someone with Matt's experience is making this work.
So basically, he's pointing the front with the rear, by sliding the rear tires with the throttle. Interesting. You don't want to do that.
No, it's
hard to do.
Yeah,
very hard to do.
That was interesting, whatever he just did with his right hand there, changing his hand position on the wheel.
This was a place that I always had to put my steering wheel at a different angle because of that banking we talk about, 9 degrees on the straightaway. To get to wheel straight like I wanted to, it was always changing.
So beginning to see a run on pit road here. Remember Martin Truex Jr.? We showed him going to be leading when he got held up on the pit lane, and it was Kyle Busch who was the leader instead. Truex was about to get lapped by Dale Jr., so he's hit the pit lane already. Mark Martin, Paul Menard have been in, and now another run on pit road here. Jamie?
And Jeff Burton in the 31 in his pit box, 4-tire call here. They fill him up with Sunoco fuel cars, been pretty good. Remember, he finished 11th here just a few months ago. Meanwhile, the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on pit road, he's been the best Roush car throughout the weekend. It was a good stop, 4 tires for Ricky. Let's go to Doc.
Denny Hamlin saying his car has gotten loose in, tight in the middle, and loose off. The initial adjustment with 4 tires of track bar help, but not enough. Another track bar change and 4 tires for Hamlin.
Danica Patrick, Kevin Harvick, Casey Kane also on the pit road. Dave?
He had been running in the 15th position on this run. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. 4 tires Sunoco fuel for Casey.
The 29 of Kevin Harvick, he has just been fighting a free race car, just has no rear grip. Can't get it to turn the way he wants. I'm going to make a chassis adjustment, a 4-tire change, trying to give Harvick something to work with. The 22 of Joey Logano has been dealing with some traffic, but the biggest problem for Logano once he gets through that traffic is he's just loose on entry and exit. You see him pulling into his pit box in pit stall number 2. They like pitting up towards this end. 4 tires, air pressure adjustment for Logano. Otherwise, the car is handling pretty well.
Greg Biffle on and off the pit lane. Travis Kvapil, David Ruderman, Brian Vickers. And now Ryan Newman. And Carl Edwards coming on to pit road here under the green. Jamie?
And Carl Edwards just saying his car is just tight center. He's been all over the map since the start of this race, so they need a little help there. Wants to take the wedge out that they put in on the first round of stops. You see the adjustment there? 4 tires once again for the 99. Dave?
Matt Kenseth wants him to go a different direction, so track bar and wedge back out. Different setup for him now. 4 tires, he's out of here. Doc?
Kyle Busch, does he need 4 tires or what? Loose on landing. He said the car was sliding a nose, wouldn't turn. Chassis adjusted the right rear, left side tires. Got to get a full Sunoco fuel, clean the grill, and piles away.
Dale Jr. slowing. Race leader coming in. Oh, he missed it.
That was a mistake right there. It's going to cost him a lot of time right here. Just couldn't make that commitment.
Rusty talked about it earlier, the tricky entrance to pit road here on a green flag stop. The leader missed it. Dave?
His teammate Jimmy Johnson is in, has still not led a lap. You see the chassis adjustment on the right rear. This time it was slipping the right front through the center of the corner. That's what the driver reported. Then it changes for that. Vince?
The 2 of Brad Keselowski, he won this race a year ago, hasn't won since. They felt like maybe they had a car capable of going to victory lane today. So far, Brad says he feels like the right rear air pressure is just too high. Feels like the car's bouncing, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment. Also going to go down around on the track bar. It's a 4-tire change for Brad Keselowski, Alan.
Now Dale Jr. back on the pit lane. You got to have all 4 tires on or under that box that's painted on the racetrack that serves as the commitment cone here, and Junior wasn't going to make it, so he had to bail out to keep from having a penalty. Vince?
Well, the issue is also Steve Letarte had told him the lap before, be careful because this pit lane is so tricky to get on, so make sure you recognize where you're entering, and he still missed it. That is indeed costly. He likes the balance of the car, though. Everything else has been good. Just 4 tires in 14.7, Jamie.
And his teammate Jeff Gordon stayed out long enough to lead a lap and get that point. His car is different than the others. It's actually getting better as the run goes on. They pulled a spring rubber, and it was a 4-tire stop for the 24.
So that is going to finish the cycle of pit stops under the green flag. And Jimmy Johnson's going to become the leader of the race, and that is Matt Kenseth right behind him. That's the race for the lead. Here it is again. What happened?
It just carrying so much speed, and you always think you can get further around there than what you actually can. You can see he just wasn't going to get those right side tires on the box and be able to turn down into the pit lane. Costly mistake.
They've changed that. They've made it better than it used to be, but it's still really difficult.
So Dale Jr. goes from leading by 3.7 seconds over second place to 9.3 seconds behind the leader in 8th place.
Well, I'll have to say that if he were going to make that mistake, now's the time to do it. It probably won't happen to him again today, but he's got a fast enough race car that he can make this still work with 280 laps to go.
Yeah, the depth of this competition, I keep saying it over and over, this is why you can't make those mistakes. They just become more and more costly because they're not just 1 or 2 teams that are going to take advantage of it. It's going to be 4 or 5 or 6. He's going to have he's got a fast car. He can make it back up.
At 7th place, he just took from Carl Edwards. So Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth run 1 and 2. Kyle Busch runs in 5th. The top 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, all in the top 5 of this race at the Monster Mile.
Come on now, in the middle.
The AAA 400 at Dover under green for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy for enhanced coverage today from Dover with 10 HD live race views, live chat, and live leaderboard. The Monster Bridge over the backstretch at the entrance of Turn 3, added to the racetrack in 2004. A very unique place to watch the race. And the folks inside enjoying some food and obviously a beverage or two. And watching what is, without question, the most unique view in motorsports.
Or any other sport that I know of. I mean, where else can you get right on top of the action?
He like sitting over to the 50-yard line at a football game.
Yeah. Fans watching Jimmie Johnson streak underneath them, looking for his 8th win at the Monster Mile, though a long way to go in today's race. We're just past the quarter mark of the event, but Johnson taking the lead after a cycle of green flag pit stops. Squeezing ahead of Matt Kenseth as he came back onto the racetrack and now pulling away by 1.2 seconds. Kenseth making note of Johnson squeezing in front of him coming up off the pit lane.
About 30 miles an hour faster, and he ran right up to the fence in front of me. And we see the lane when he's doing 140 and I'm doing 170. Not a big deal. He just did the Keselowski merge, which I don't really care. I mean, that's NASCAR's deal, not mine. But gosh, I'm going that fast on the wall. The backstretch would be nice if he didn't pull up in the middle of the backstretch to block me going that slow. I will say.
Two observations there. One, I think he talked for a full lap around here without letting off the radio button. That's unusual for Matt, I would think. Second, he's talking about that spot right there. When you come up off that apron and blend up into traffic off a pit stop on the backstretch. It's narrow back there.
It's narrow, and it is a courtesy by the driver that's coming out if he wants to stay down below, knowing that you're approaching at a higher speed. But the only requirement by NASCAR is that you not get up until you have gone to the back straightaway off the apron, and so then the driver can do whatever he wants. Jimmie Johnson felt like he needed to go to the top.
He kind of puts himself in a little vulnerable spot.
It does.
Because if Matt doesn't cut him a break, they both crash.
He was pretty sure that wasn't going to happen, though.
Yeah, because Matt has a lot to lose also. But, Jimmy's doing all he can do.
Yeah.
Trying to lead laps.
This is racing.
Half lane up, outside.
I see both of them's point, though. You know, I would be just in Matt's shoes if that would have happened, but I understand the other side of it, of getting up there and impeding his progress.
And again, I think they should mark that button on the steering wheel the driver pushes for the radio vent.
There's also something I saw from that in-car shot while we were listening to Matt's radio. There's a brake bias knob right over in this area, and I saw him actually twisting that while he's racing here going down the street. You just have a second to do that, but I saw him adjust it. Trying to change the handling of his car.
You don't use a ton of brake here, but he may have needed to adjust that last time on the longer run. He could have been adjusting back at that point in time. Most time you'll do it as you get back to running, but shouldn't be using that much brake to run good here.
And what I didn't mean to step on you there. What I was going to say is, unlike some other forms of racing, there are not a lot of tools at a driver's disposal in the cockpit here. That some forms of racing you can adjust the anti-roll bars and different things, but in a stock car, by rule, that brake bias and those 3 pedals in that steering wheel, those are what you got. Yeah,
that's really it. That's the only adjustment the driver can really change the car. Like I said, other than the way he's driving with the steering wheel and the brake and the throttle.
And then some of the really crazy stuff where the guys sitting on the pit box send telemetry signals and adjust your car suspension from there. This is those 3 pedals, that steering wheel, and that's what you got.
Yeah.
Dale Jr. trying to get around Kyle Busch. Continue to dig out of the hole from that missing pit road on the green flag stop.
I've been watching his lap times, though. He's been consistently the fastest car after he made the pit stop, so he hasn't lost anything other than the track position.
Joey Logano there in the 22, yesterday's winner, and winner of the last 4 nationwide races at this racetrack.
Says this Monster Mile is his favorite racetrack and just suits his driving style, and he's had a nice run in the race so far. Logano started in 11th. He was 10th just before the pit stops and is now running 4th, so his pit crew with some nice work down there on the pit lane. And he stopped 4 or 5 laps sooner than some other guys, so took advantage of the speed on fresher tires.
Yeah, for sure.
He has a little bit of debris on the grill. If that's going to be a problem for him, you see the crash.
Update on Logano from Vince.
Well, they are indeed a little bit concerned about that debris on the grill, as Joey has reported that the temperatures are rising. Not to the danger level yet, but certainly something that Todd Gordon is concerned about, and they're keeping an eye on it. Constant communication with Joey in regards to the temperatures. By the way, these guys were way off earlier this weekend. Even late in that final practice, they leaned heavily on their teammate Brad Keselowski to get this car better for today.
Yeah, one reason they might be really concerned too, Vince, is they lost an engine in Chicago. It was a lifter that gave up on that, and one of the things that they need to really control is that oil temperature to protect that part of the engine. So I'm sure this has got some concern that if that oil temperature gets to a certain level, that they may want to bring him in.
Logano starting his championship with that problem in Chicagoland, 37th finish, and then the 14th place run at New Hampshire last week. So really they're needing top 3 finishes and wins to even begin to get back in the conversation for the big trophy. Joey running 4th now behind Jimmie Johnson, Matt Kenseth, and Ryan Newman. Just about 150 miles in today at the Monster Mile. Looking down on Jimmie Johnson leading today at the Monster Mile in Delaware. Our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learned making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. May not be a track that's more grueling and demanding on those tires than Dover, but so far today, only 1 caution for debris. And we have a long green flag run going here in the Monster Mile. Stay tuned for NASCAR nonstop coverage during the second half of today's race, powered by Chevy Silverado. Getting halfway pretty quickly. So 18 cars on the lead lap at this point. I mentioned just the 1 caution flag for debris. That was way back at lap 37. We have been green since lap 43. So 110 laps now under the green flag. And only 4 cars are off the track. Reed Sorensen has just gone to the garage. Josh Wise, Michael McDowell, and Joe Nemechek have also turned back into the garage area in the last 40 laps or so. Greg Biffle 16, Carl Edwards 99, racing for 10th and 11th spots, while Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch trade the 5th and 6th positions.
Junior be pretty patient there. He caught Kyle Busch probably just 12, 14 laps ago, and made a couple of runs trying to pass him, but Kyle was able to hold him off. But showing pay, I think he knows he has a car that's still very capable, even though he's given up some time to the leader and obviously that mistake in missing pit road, but still a lot of racing to go here.
As a driver, how long does it take you to get over when you do something like that?
It depends on if you win, come back and win or not. If you don't, then you beat yourself up for a while. If you're able to go and get yourself back in a position, and even if you get yourself back in a position and don't win then, you realize it's okay, you got back there to that point. But if this race should go green the rest of the way and he not ever have that opportunity, then that'll be a tough one to get over.
I'm just thinking about if we continue to stay under green for a bit and come up on another set of green flag pit stops, how that might mess with you when you're having to make that same difficult entry again.
You'll probably lose another second or two over what you would have, because you're not going to make that mistake again, more than likely.
Kyle Busch, Clint Bowyer, and Kurt Busch on pit road. This would be what I would think would be an unscheduled stop, because Kurt was just in at lap 111.
Yeah, they've really been struggling. Dave, what's wrong with 78?
As DJ knows, drivers can feel when they think that they have a loose wheel and the right rear appeared to be loose on this car. We'll go check it out and see if we can identify the area of the problem. But Kurt thought it was the right rear.
That's what's been the Achilles heel of this race team all year.
And thing is, they made some changes to this pit crew for today's race.
They worked a deal with Richard Childress to get some of the 2 car from the Nationwide team, get their crew here to do that job today, since they were here yesterday. But yeah, it doesn't take long at a track where you're running this kind of speed. I mean, there are areas of this track that are rough and give you a vibration around here anyway at times. But at the speeds that you're going here, you don't want to take any chances that there might be something wrong, especially with a loose wheel.
That's the gap, first to second. Johnson to Matt Kenseth. How about him calling his crew chief peanut butter on the radio? It's kind of fun. Junior looking for 4th place now. Not quite on Joey Logano. And in some traffic, A.J. Allmendinger was just on the pit road for a green flag stop in that 47 car.
So he shouldn't be in their way. You should be driving away from him, and he is.
So Dale Jr. trying to dig back out from an error on the approach to his green flag pit stop a bit ago. And a long, long green flag run continues, bringing up the possibility of more trips to the pit lane. Crews will be hard at work again at the Monster Mile in just a little bit. Back live Dover International Speedway under the second caution of the race. Both of them for spring rubbers that came out of race cars are laying on the racing surface. And we've just finished a round of pit stops where Matt Kenseth has taken the lead from Jimmie Johnson by just that much.
This is a narrow pit road. These 2 cars coming out just side by side. Looks like Jimmy had the advantage for just a moment. It's almost like he had second thoughts about his pit road speed.
And so you see how close they are to all the cars that are being worked on there. And if anybody there decided to go for just 2 tires or something, there's nowhere to go.
Jimmy's definitely made it interesting then.
Jimmy's in a bad spot there. But Matt will now be the control car for the restart. Lap and a half to the green. Carl Edwards is our ESPN in-race reporter for the day. Let's check in with him as we approach midway. He's running 11th.
Hey, Carl, Dale Jarrett, can you talk?
I can talk.
All right, man. What are you saying about this racetrack? You were hoping it'd be different from yesterday. Is that what you've seen?
I keep counting, and I guess Dover's got 5 letters. I thought it was a 4-letter word after the way we've been going here. This has been a little bit of a struggle. I'd say that our guys just, we just got to lean on Jimmy Fennig and to make the right adjustments to get this car a little better. We're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I even see a lot of the rubber coming up under this caution there. Does that make this restart even different?
Oh, yeah. It's tire spin's big. Trying not to spin them, and I got the inside line here, which is good, I think. It's been back and forth, top or bottom.
All right, thanks for talking.
Thanks, Tiff.
Jeff Burton free pass onto the caution as Jimmy Fennig tries to figure out what magic he can wave over that race car to turn Dover back to a 5-letter word, according to what Carl said. As we come to the green, race fans, think you know something about speed? Buckle your seatbelt. Play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge. Text FAST to 34763 and predict who'll have the fastest times in today's race. Brought to you by the nation's fastest 4G LTE network, AT&T Rethink Possible. So Matt Kenseth choosing the outside lane. Watch Junior, watch Kyle Busch. We've seen Kyle take 3 wide on the initial start of the race from that outside lane to try and pick up some positions aggressively.
That was a nice job by Jimmie Johnson on that restart. Not to spin the tires, stay right there and able to get himself in that second spot.
Yeah, that's the best we've seen anybody on the inside lane at the front get off on the start.
Clint Bowyer hanging on to that track position as crew chief Brian Patty got him by taking just rights on the lap 39 pit stops.
Yeah, that worked good for him. He was able to parlay that into keeping the top 10 spot and putting him right in the thick of this.
Yeah, and having a car that's really good on the long runs, you see him make a real move off of turn 2 there to try to get that spot away from Ryan Newman. But having a car that didn't wear the tires too bad, and he was able to hang on and keep himself up here with an opportunity now.
First couple of corners for Dale Jr.'s car. He was on that outside lane. You see the front end just kind of twitching a little bit, and he's trying to keep control and not lose any. That looked like it was a handful.
Yeah, it is, and that's really not where he's set up and where we've seen him when he's running fast. When he was leading the race, he was right on the bottom of the racetrack, so it really wasn't a spot on the track he was familiar with, and didn't look like that he wanted to get familiar with it.
Good look back through the top 20 there. Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards.
You could just get in Carl's voice there that he really needed some changes to be made to his race car here today. We know that he's very capable of running well around here, but you could tell that he was hesitant at the beginning of the race and still just doesn't have this car where he wants to be able to attack this track.
Remember where he said he thought the inside lane would be maybe an advantage? He's lost 4 spots since the restart. Now trying to defend 15th place from Casey Kane. And Martin Truex behind them. Now the first car a lap down in that 56.
That 2-tire experiment really cost the 56. I didn't say experiment, that a number of teams tried it, but it just really did not work with their car and put them behind. Be tough to make this up.
It went from second to a lap down in that run. Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle, 8th place there. Jamie McMurray in the 1, also for that position.
Talking to Greg this weekend, he was very hopeful. He really loves to race this racetrack, but thought some things they'd been learning were going to help them be more competitive. He didn't feel like they ran very well here the first race this year back in June, but thought they would be much more competitive here. Not seeing what you need to see. Normally we see Greg Biffle making that move, passing and going towards the front. So Roush Fenway teams just don't quite have the cars where they need them.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think they're in a position to really challenge for this chase this year. When you have Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards struggling like they are, say at Dover, it just means that their program's not where they need it.
Talked to his crew chief Matt Pusha earlier this weekend. He said they would like to have come and test here at Dover, but we've talked a lot about the concrete surface and the rubber. He said unless you can talk a lot of other teams into coming here with you, you'll never get enough rubber worked into the surface for it to really be valid data. And so they didn't come test here, though they would like to have.
I will say this, though. We didn't see Greg Biffle show up last week until it was right there About the time the pay window opened.
Yeah, the pay window's not open yet, Doc, but Greg Biffle's hanging in there in 10th place.
Exactly what I was going to say. A week ago, it wasn't until that final adjustment that the car came to life and he roared to finish third. Right now, they keep battling a loose condition. They made a track bar adjustment. Matt Fuchsia there on the lot of your screen. A half round helped a little bit. 10 laps later, we're loose. Air pressure change helped for about 5 laps and loose. This last stop, they waved off the track bar and did air pressure only. That was a bad move because he's loose right now and dropping back.
Yeah, got more work to do, and I'm sure more adjustments to try on that 16 car, and still better than half the race left to go.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you that Greg Biffle will be up on the wheel the whole race.
Matt Kenseth has left Jimmie Johnson by nearly 2 seconds since the restart. Can he possibly make it 3 straight?
Approaching halfway here at Dover International Speedway, but the racing continues tonight with the AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Nationals from St. Louis. The finals are at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2, and then next weekend we come to you from Kansas, the NASCAR Nationwide Series race, 3:30 Eastern on Saturday on ESPN, and then race 4 of the Chase, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Kansas, presented by Dodge Trucks next Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. One of the best views in all of racing.
That is
Welcome inside the Quicken Loans ESPN Pit Studio. I am Nicole alongside Rusty and Brad. We were talking earlier about this chase and this race. It is a championship that demands perfection from beginning to end. And our lap leader so far today has been the pole sitter, the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Very strong early on, but a costly mistake.
Yeah, very costly mistake, Nicole. He came on pit road, came in too hot, could not get the car slowed down turn, and had to go back on the racetrack. And this is the thing we talked about in Countdown, a real tough pit road to get onto.
But I'll tell you what, he's got such a stout race car today. He's already worked himself back up to 4th position. He can overcome that mistake because we have a lot of laps left, but it could have been the death knell for today.
Perhaps not a surprise. Matt Kenseth leading the way, followed by Jimmie Johnson. Kenseth is a 2-time winner here, a 2-time winner already in the chase, and Jimmie Johnson, as we said earlier, might as well be the monster himself at Dover. 7-time winner.
Jimmie Johnson's very, very fast. He's running down Matt Kenseth right now, but Kenseth had a great pit stop, really knocked it out of the ballpark, beat Johnson out of the pit area, and that's what got him the lead, but Johnson's had the fastest car, in my opinion, throughout this event.
Coming up on halfway, we got Matt Kenseth first, Jimmie Johnson second, and Kyle Busch third. Those are the 3.
Just have a feeling, Alan, that this is how the rest of the season is going to go.
I do too.
If it is the way the rest of the season's going to go, it's competitive between them.
Yeah, it's not like that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, we do have 3 that are, all run equally as well at all of these racetracks. It should make it interesting, but they got to figure out a way how to beat this man right here.
I don't think there's not pressure on this team, too. I talked to some of the crew guys, Jason Shapiro, the car chief on this car. He said they've won the first 2 races, but they still are only 14 points up coming into this one. So he said that there's pressure on them to keep this performance level where it is and to keep pushing.
I find it interesting that as the years have gone, what it takes to win continues to be a higher bar because of the excellence of teams like Jimmie Johnson's and the number of wins and the average running position and so on, and the bad finish allowance, if you will, in these 10 races. That bar keeps getting nudged up every single year, and you're going to have to win races, and you're going to have to finish not just in the top 10 anymore, as Johnson gets a fender alongside, but you're going to have to finish in the top 5.
Yeah, you might set a record for the mark of the best average finish in the chase and still finish 3rd in this championship this year, the way it's going.
So Jimmie Johnson fell back by a second and change from Matt Kenseth. Now he's run up and passed him, Dave.
And the start of the run wasn't good for the 48. He said it was on the splitter a little bit too hard, but boy, after about 10 laps, once it got off there, that's when he really started closing in on Matt. Now you see Matt not really giving up at this point. Earlier, remember, he got the lead over Junior in traffic, and that's one of the things that Jason Ratcliffe and I talked about this morning when we discussed Matt's championship run. Why is Matt Kenseth running harder, it seems, at the beginning of these races and getting those bonus points and going for most laps led? Jason says we haven't talked about it much, but I think it's his teammates Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. They have gotten Matt on that program where Matt used to be a layback and race hard late. Matt now runs up early and knows those bonus points are available, and they can get him a championship.
Well, when there's only 1 point separating each position, and the guy that you're competing with for the championship is running within a couple of positions from you, those bonus points you get for leading laps, leading the most laps, and winning the race, where really the only separation there is in that 1 point per position pack, they add up. Look at those numbers this season.
Yeah. Part of this goes, too, to feeling comfortable with your race car and what you can do with it. And they give Matt such a good car week in and week out that this guy that we know that's kind of that David Pearson type that we've seen for a lot of years, but he's got that Cale Yarborough Bulldog side of him, too. He's showing more of that earlier on than what we're used to seeing. And I think that's the big difference is he's very comfortable in his equipment to go out there and do that, and he understands, again, the bonus points and what they mean, and that could be the difference in winning a championship or not.
When you say Bulldog, like a Cale Yarborough, I see Matt Kenseth as one of these gentleman-type racers. Now, you've raced with him. I've never raced with him, but it seems to me like he's more of that, kind of a give-and-take kind of racer.
There's a different side of Matt Kenseth on that racetrack than what we see up here. I can assure you of that. And I'm not saying in a bad way whatsoever. This is as a competitor. When Matt Kenseth needs a spot and you're in his way, he's not afraid to take that in whatever way he needs to make that happen. And that's just an aggressive, good race driver that's very confident in what he can do. So don't let this mild-mannered guy that we saw in the pit studio earlier today fool you, because he'll take whatever he needs on the track.
He's all business when
he is, I guarantee you.
Well, the business right now is finding a way to hang with Jimmie Johnson, one of his rivals for the championship, who has gotten by him and led this race at halfway. A number on this, Jimmie Johnson led it halfway in 5 of his 7 Dover wins.
Well, Matt tried to hold him off a couple more laps if he'd have known that stat. So we got to get this stuff to him.
Kyle Busch, the other player in the trio atop the championship standings, running in 3rd. So top 3 in the championship. In the top 3 places in chase race number 3. The order this time, though, Johnson, Kenseth, and Kyle. Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, powered today by the all-new Chevy Silverado. A day of long green flag runs in the AAA 400 at Dover for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, but a lot of racing yet to go. We're just across midway, and Jimmie Johnson is the race leader. Johnson, one of 17 cars on the lead lap, about to be 16, as he's looking to put Jeff Burton back 1 lap down. Just a couple of cautions, both for debris, and one of the 2 longest green flag runs that we've seen this year. Today, here at Dover. Time to go up to speed and catch up on how these front runners are faring. We start with the race leader and with Dave.
He's seen this movie before. He knows how to win here at Dover. Right now, he's been told to just save his stuff. He's cruising out front. Crew Chief Chad Knaus feels like they can be cruising out front in this championship very soon. He said, I'm actually very happy with the championship so far. Feel like we could have won at Chicago, save for a bad pit stop, but we've been very pleased with our performance. As for the 20 of Matt Kenseth, he has given up that race lead, and he's begun to tell crew chief Jason Ratcliffe what to do about it. He said the center and the rear of the race car have come out of the track. One of the things these two have done well is communicate with each other. We'll see how the adjustments work next time for Matt. Doc?
Back in 3rd spot, the 18 car of Kyle Busch, who's led the most laps the last 2 races here. Kyle's been battling a car. It's tight in the middle, but loose on landing. That last adjustment by Dave Rogers with the air pressure and track bar is really what Kyle liked. He said, man, the car really rotating well right now in the center, but I'm getting it tick free, and right now able to hold off the charge of the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, and that 88 of Junior has been real good all day long. Just 2 top 5s the last 23 races, but they've been one of the best here today. They led 76 laps earlier in the race. You see Junior passing a lap car there. He says the track is getting tighter, the car getting tighter as well. They'll continue to adjust. Doc?
Back behind Junior, this guy could have something to say about who wins this race today. Clint Boyer started back in 23rd position. The whole team was down because of the poor qualifying run. He said Clint somehow lost 3/10 in qualifying, but he has found it on the racetrack today. They have made no adjustments. I mean, nothing but put tires on this car. Clint says we've got a rocket, especially down in turns 1 and 2. Vince.
The car of Ryan Newman has been a rocket at times today as well, but early in this run he said it was just on the splitter a little bit too much, causing the car to be loose off, but it got better when the air pressures came up. They've led 6 laps so far today, and when I talked to Matt Borland, the crew chief, this morning before the race, he said we've got a mess. We don't know what we've got with this race car, but boy, it's sure been better here in the race. Jamie?
And breathing down his neck is the 24 of Jeff Gordon. They finished in the top 3 the last 2 races here, but that hasn't been the case yet today. Not quite a top 3 car. He has been in the top 10. His problem, though, is his car just starts off a run so tight, he has to wait so long for the car to come to him. Right now, he's saying it's turning better, but he doesn't have any drive off. Vince?
Well, and Joey Logano, who won the nationwide race yesterday, his 4th straight nationwide race win here at Dover, and his crew chief, Todd Gordon, said, I love it when my driver's confident. That usually means I'm going to have a good driver on Sunday. They have been in the top 10 all day long, but right now a little debris on the grill. They're somewhat concerned about the temperatures, keeping a close eye on that. Second time they've had that issue today, Jamie.
And no issues for Jamie McMurray in the one right behind him, coming off his 3rd top 5 of the season, saying his car is just lacking grip as the run goes on, so it's getting a little bit worse slowly, but he's running a good pace, they're telling him right now, and just a little bit loose is what they'll adjust on. Doc?
This is the best run that Denny Hamlin has had since his last top 10 at Pocono way back in June, 15 races ago. The crew picked up 2 spots on pit road. The adjustment helped the loose in, tight middle, loose off conditions. And Denny Hamlin is driving like the Denny Hamlin of old, making a charge to stay in the top 10 and maybe, just maybe get a top 5. Dave.
Brian Vickers has been battling a tight race car all day long here today, but running near the top 10 and so confident in the group that he's going to be working with next year, even though he doesn't have a crew chief named yet, that he took him to the National Whitewater Center in Charlotte this week for team building exercises. Now, Brian knows how to rock climb and do all that stuff, but that was something new for a lot of his team, and they bonded a lot. Alan?
Dave, thanks. So Brian Vickers running in 11th. The rest of the lead lap cars are Brad Keselowski in 12th, Casey Kane in 13th, Greg Biffle in 14th, Kevin Harvick 15th, and Carl Edwards in 16th. Jeff Gordon, Ryan Newman. As Gordon continues to hold station after not having a car that was up to his liking a little bit earlier in the race. Johnson, Kenseth, Kyle Busch, 1, 2, and 3. Well, as you saw on our NASCAR nonstop coverage, Brad Keselowski down the pit lane directly to the garage and out of his car. And one of the NASCAR officials reporting that there was liquid trailing from behind that too when he came down the pit lane, and that's the reason for this third caution of the race. That's why the pit road has not been opened yet, so they can make sure it's all clean and clear before the cars come down to make their stops. Vince?
Well, Brad was reporting that he was smelling smoke in the car, then it was tightening up a great deal, and the crew chief Paul Wolfe believes that they burned up a rear seal. That was the issue.
You see all the rear end grease and fluid on the back of the car, and you have to believe there's some on the racetrack. They're looking for it.
Well, that is tough luck for Brad. He was running 12th when he went down the pit lane, as you see there, and pit road now open. So here we go. Remember Jimmie Johnson, Matt Kenseth side by side down the pit lane on the last yellow flag stop. Dave?
Here they go again, AB. The 20 will take 4 tires. Matt said the center is actually a little bit better, but looser in and off. Now for Jimmie Johnson, he said the car doesn't have any looseness in it whatsoever. He's still going to get a little chassis adjustment to keep up with the track. Doc?
Kyle Busch says, I want more of the same. Give me track bar, give me air pressure. You made the car really good. 4 tires. He's 14 laps shy of the fuel window. Vince.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting ready to get into his pit box. The car didn't react positively to that last adjustment, so they're going to take some wedge out as it continued to get tighter as the run went along. So wedge out, going to go with the 4-tire change. Just trying to keep up with the racetrack here. That's been a big challenge while they work on the pit stop. Jimmie Johnson was the first one off pit lane.
48 team held serve there. And the cleanup continues on the third caution of this race after Brad Keselowski had some problems. There is the formation for the restart, less than half a lap away here at Dover. Jimmie Johnson choosing the outside lane, Matt Kenseth to his inside. Let's see who has the U.S. Army look of a leader. Jimmie Johnson, Dale Jr., Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch. No surprise. Not at all. Restart waved off while they make sure everybody's in their proper positions. Jeff Burton, the free pass under this caution for a second straight yellow, and so we've got another lap before we go back to full speed racing. Caution for something trailing from Brad Keselowski's car, Jamie.
A lot of oil. I can smell it back here. Brad, how much indication did you have knowing something was going wrong back here?
Yeah, I didn't have much, but the crew guys had a bunch when they did the last pit stop. They noticed a lot of oil in the wheel well, so we tried to get off the track as fast as we could with the Miller Lite Ford to not bring out a yellow, but obviously it wasn't quite quick enough. But we're getting all of our bad luck out of the way right here this year, so watch out next year.
They were optimistic coming in, and unfortunately their day ends in the garage. Alan?
Yeah, we saw Brad Keselowski last night, and he was really optimistic that he had a chance to win today.
You don't see this kind of failure very often anymore.
They don't do that, but it seems whenever things start happening, they just snowball, and it's not that it hadn't been the same thing any time that's created problems and obstacles for this team.
So getting ready to go back racing with still 167 laps to go in the third race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. The dominant drivers in the chase so far, Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, and Jimmie Johnson, have been running in the top 5 about this entire race. The other one, Dale Jr., who started on the pole, but Jr. made a mistake coming to pit lane for a green flag stop. He's recovered nicely up to 3rd position. The race is featured today long stretches of green flag racing. The first 2 cautions for debris, spring rubbers that came out of cars on the racetrack, and then this last one for the bits of the rear end gear or the oil from Brad Keselowski's car, whichever it might be. And what we've had are the people dominating the chase so far, dominating this race on this very tough track.
Yeah, and it's not just right up front. It's kind of all the way back through. We've got a couple, Jamie McMurray and Denny Hamlin right now inside the top 10. But the Chasers pretty much of the top 15, that's what you see. And these are the better teams. But the guys that have been strong performance-wise are right there at the front once again.
Matt Kenseth chasing a 3rd consecutive win to open the chase, right now running 2nd.
Hey, Jason, the last 2 restarts when I scrubbed the tires, I got a grinding in the left front when I turned back to the right. Did it last time, too.
You know, that could be, it could be something rubbing the rotor, maybe a brake duct or something like that. You can feel that up through the steering wheel.
Here's your restart order. 16 cars on the lead lap.
Green flag.
Junior on the move. Starts up to second.
Yeah, that outside lane working to his advantage right there. To Joey Logano in the 22. Looked like he was in a hurry to get somewhere too, past a couple on that restart.
Oh, looks like Kenseth loosened him up a little bit.
That was a nice save, I believe.
This that Bulldog Kenseth you've been talking about?
Yep. Whoa. So right there, he tried to jump back into throttle to see if he could get clear. Cost him, had to get out of the gas. Going to cost him 2 or 3 spots now.
Kyle Busch by. Jeff Gordon to his inside. Logano trying to take advantage.
This is where you kick yourself in the rear from trying to do too much at one time and get that. But it's also, we'll see the experience of a Matt Kenseth right here. Settle down and get these spots back.
Able to shut the door on Jeff Gordon and minimize the damage, but Junior and Kyle Busch get by, and Matt Kenseth shuffled from second back to fourth. Denny Hamlin 11, Kevin Harvick 29, Brian Vickers 55. Lead lap, that's 11th, 12th, and 13th. I don't want to jinx it, but this is the best run we've seen out of Hamlin in a little while.
I was thinking the same thing. We haven't seen him really up inside the top 12 lately, but he's up there now.
Yeah, we saw him a number of times qualify up front on the pole or somewhere near the front, but just kind of work his way to the back. This is the first time we've really seen this car in quite a while moving forward, and it's nice to see.
Denny has talked about how he's going to need this season to end and to spend time out of a race car to fully get that back he injured back the end of March healed up and 100%.
Yeah, we're driving these race cars 400 and 500 miles every weekend is not a way to get yourself better when you have any type of injury, and it just takes a while for that to happen.
And especially here at the Monster Mile, where you talked about the compression and pushing you down in the seat, Doc. That's a day's work, especially if your back's sore.
And actually, Denny has been very, very open and candid about how miserable and how uncomfortable he's been in the car with his back, and the fact that he's trying to avoid off-season back surgery. But recently, he's gone through a series of back injections that seem to have helped. He said he's not been able to feel the car because of trying to deal with the pain, but now the injections are helping him feel the car. And I think we're seeing some of the results today. The old Denny Hamlin looking like he's headed for maybe a top 10 finish.
Last top 10 for Denny was back in June at Pocono. Second or third week of June that race was, so it's been a while.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic.
I think the one thing I heard Matt Kenseth say he felt that grinding when he was cleaning off his tires when he turned to the right. One other possibility, that it could be a wheel bearing or something like that, and it sure does. That's something that would worry me. Are they any worried about it, Dave?
They're not worried about it. In fact, Jason Ratcliffe radio's right back. I do believe it's a brake hose you're rubbing there, so that's something they can fix back at their the next build.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem if it is a brake duct, but just always something. What can derail you? That's what I always think of. What's the worst possible thing? And a wheel bearing would be the worst possible thing, but it looks like it's okay right now.
What you're saying is, as a crew chief, you're worried about everything.
I do. I worry about everything.
Yeah. Well, Matt Kenseth running in fourth after leading 36 laps of this race and being second at the restart to Jimmy Johnson, but a little slip pressing, trying to keep from losing any ground and gaining ground. Cost him a couple of spots. 155 laps still to go here at Dover. Time to go NASCAR nonstop, powered by Chevy Silverado. As you watch Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr. during our NASCAR nonstop coverage, Jr. chipping into Johnson's lead just a little bit, slightly, but gaining a little bit of ground in these last 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, it looks like they've got, I was concerned the last run about Junior's car, then talking about the tightness of it, but looks like they've worked on it, and he is a little bit faster than Jimmie Johnson right at this point of the race.
Take a look at the danger zone, brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. And the reality is the Monster Mile hasn't had much of a danger zone today. Of the 3 cautions, 2 for spring rubbers that came out of cars and were laying on the track, and 1 for the liquid from Brad Keselowski's car. The Monster hasn't mashed any cars yet.
Now, it's been a good day for Nationwide Insurance, kind of day they like to see, no accidents.
Yeah. And the 5 cars out of the race: Tony Raines, Reed Sorensen, Josh Wise, Michael McDowell, and now Joe Nemechek. Jeff Gordon trying to reel in Matt Kenseth, trying to pick up 4th spot. And Kenseth reeling in Kyle Busch to try and pick up 3rd. A lot of times there's a point in these Dover races where the track conditions just kind of take a swing. The afternoon sun, the rubber buildup on the track, and so on. And anticipating that and being prepared to adjust for it, both as a driver and a crew chief, can be a big thing.
Yeah, from the driver's side, all you can basically do is tell the crew chief kind of what you're feeling and if that's changed something from what you've seen previously. But you know, looking at notes and sitting there, what that may be.
Yeah, you have trends that you can go by from historical races here. But one thing I heard Jimmie Johnson say in the pre-race show is that the way the track takes rubber is a little different this time. It's not stacking up. He said it's taking rubber. We see it, how the grooves are pretty well black all the way up, but it doesn't stack up. So I think it's going to be a little different than it's been in the past because of that. But at the same time, Dale, you're talking about all you can do is tell them what you're feeling. All we can do is adjust what you've got.
Yeah.
So you just got to give good information, the driver does, of which way this racetrack's going. And especially at this part, Alan, you're right, that you need that information timely.
And what you're talking about, what Jimmy's talking about, is the rubber. You can see it blackens the corners, but it's not getting to where you have to dodge that. A lot of times, if it stacks like Jimmy was talking about, that increased the difficulty of this racetrack because you had to figure out a way to drive around that. And that basically was where most everyone was wanting to run, but you couldn't put your tires in that because you would lose whichever tire hit that. So with it doing this, Jimmy said that brings more people into play because it doesn't increase the difficulty of this track.
Well, it looks like he's bringing the 88 into play. He's keeping pace with him this run.
Well, Junior's kind of the interloper, one of the storylines coming into this race. The top 3 in the championship, who have separated themselves from the rest of the chase contenders, are all really, really good historically here at Dover. Look at the numbers for Kenseth, Kyle, and Jimmy. A lot of wins, great average finish. Of course, Jimmy tied for most all time, and the way those 3 have opened the chase with, in Matt's case, 2 wins, Kyle 2 runner-ups, and Jimmy 2 top 5 finishes, they come here to Dover and find themselves running all in the top 4 in the race.
Yeah, and I think you had to know that, and every other driver knew this coming in, that you had to kind of minimize the point loss here today because you knew that these 3 drivers are going to be somewhere around the top 5 if they weren't once again the top 3 here today. So you just wanted to be as solid as you could and find yourself somewhere still close when you left here.
Don't give up too many. Look for your opportunity later because these 3 are not going to give it to you here.
I think something else that the numbers those drivers post at this racetrack shows, you know, we're talking about how difficult the racetrack is. And yeah, I know, I just said the Monster hasn't chewed up a lot of cars today, but how difficult and demanding this racetrack is. And there's the cream of the sport rising to the top of this race.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that top 5 there is a good look at, you know, who gets the job done. And, you know, that's a good barometer of what you have and what you can do and what you're capable of. As we see Kyle Busch losing a few spots here now, that 3rd and 4th spot. Going to fall back to 5th, but yeah, that's where it really shows. This is one of those racetracks that takes mental and physical toughness and abilities, and we see the good drivers seem to get there on a more regular basis here.
Top 5 drivers running in this race right now, between them have 14 wins at this track.
Wow. Cream really does rise to the top, doesn't it?
Jeff Gordon there just dogging Matt Kenseth. Look at this.
He's been looking for that opportunity. You know, he ran up there, and you run behind someone, you don't get exactly what you need because you're not getting the air there, but he saw that opening to get to the outside and go.
Okay, he's moved to 3rd. He's had good cars a lot this year. Let's see what he can do with this one.
Well, I know the hot team of late has been Joe Gibbs Racing. Really, you know, doing a great job over the late summer months and into the fall, and scoring, 5 wins in the last 7? Well, today, Hendrick Motorsports is running 1, 2, 3, with Joe Gibbs Racing 4 and 5.
We can see our 2 top teams.
Yes, sir. Showing some muscle. 134 to go. A lot of racing left, and remember, these Dover races have featured a late twist lately. Combined laps led by the last 2 Dover winners, 17.
Welcome back to the AAA 400 at Dover. Fans, be sure to go to NASCAR.com for all of your latest NASCAR information. 127 laps to go, and Jimmy Johnson is out front inside the Quicken Loans ESPN pit studio. It's Nicole, Brad, and Rusty. We heard before the break the power and the strength behind Hendrick Motorsports today, currently running 1, 2, 3. Particularly eyes on the leader, Jimmy Johnson, who going into the chase had the worst 4 weeks of his career, but he has again found that consistency that seems to define this team in the playoffs.
And Nicole, that's something we all been waiting to see if it was going to happen or not. I mean, Johnson hit, just like you said, he had that 4-race streak where he was terrible out there, but now, can he make it back? Well, look, Johnson's back today. He's running fantastic. This is a track we expected him to run good at, and he's doing it again, Brad.
Yeah.
And I really think that this team has found their mojo right when they needed it to. Chase time, they're looking solid right now.
It's like they're coming alive. But I'll tell you who I've been really watching. I've been very impressed with Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has been absolutely stellar today. That race car continues to be one of the 2 fastest cars on the racetrack. I can't wait till we can get to that last run. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. might surprise a few people today.
Heard Alan say it just a few minutes ago. This race of late has featured a twist at the end. Alan?
Well, thinking back, Nicole, I mentioned 17 laps led combined by the last 2 winners, right? Last year in this race, Kyle Busch led 302 laps. Brad Keselowski led 14. Brad was the winner. And in the June race here, Tony Stewart led 3 laps in the race, the last 3, and was the winner.
That's a big one.
Yep.
I see Jeff Gordon coming. He's gaining on the front, too. He might have slowed down a little bit.
Whoa, look at that move.
Till the end.
Kyle Busch's car's really loose.
Yeah, he's losing a lot of time to these guys. See, he's having to turn the car back right. He may have a flat tire.
Yeah, he's got something wrong. If not a flat tire, he's overheated that right rear.
Wow.
That thing is out of control. Last lap is about a half second off our leader, Jimmy Johnson.
Busy hands inside that 18, Doc.
Absolutely, and Kyle said the adjustment you made prior really helped the car. He went a little further with the same adjustment, and now he said it is so loose he can hardly drive it. Loose in the middle, which is unheard of here, and loose off. He just paused the crew chief. So guys, at least a round, maybe a round and a half or 2 rounds of wedge all the way across the back of the next stop. We got to tighten this thing up. I'm just hanging on out of here.
You've got a loose race car, and then you get somebody on your back bumper in the right rear quarter panel. You think you've spun out.
Watch Kyle Busch's hands here.
Had to turn that so far right, he had to let go of the steering wheel. Yeah. His right hand wouldn't go down that far.
See Brad Keselowski back on the racetrack.
Yep, Brad's out there 43 laps down in 38th place. So Kyle slipping back to the 6th position. And still slipping. Man, all over the racetrack.
He is just hanging on to this car.
I mean, that literally drove that race car. It's so loose. He was in the gas, and it drove it down the track. I've been there, and that's that spot before. I'm sure Rusty Wallace has too.
Really struggling here, really struggling.
It is no fun around this track. We talk about how you have to attack it. You can attack it, but you have to have a tight enough race car to do that. Loose when you're not going anywhere.
And Going to give up a spot to Clint Boyer there. So Kyle back to 7th. Would really love to see a caution flag and to get a chance to adjust on that 18 car here.
It looks like that percentage rises for that caution flag at about lap 300, looking at historical data.
Well, if he's going to have any chance of this race, he's going to need it to happen here rather quickly and not be him with that loose race car.
Yeah.
Because he continues to lose spots, and even if they're able to come in and adjust on the car, it won't give him a chance to get back to the front.
Jamie McMurray won. Ryan Newman 39, trading 9th place.
And Jamie, the one driver that's not in the chase is inside the top 10 right now.
And we love watching Ryan Newman work.
He goes at it.
And our drink bottle straw accelerometer there showing things as well, Vince.
Well, the car not quite to Ryan's liking right now, said as he's chattering the front wheels. They've had a good car. They've done a nice job keeping up with the track. But boy, hearing all up and down pit lane guys that the track is really changing. And these crew chiefs are getting their money's worth, earning their money today with the changes they're having to make on these race cars to keep these drivers competitive. Matt Borland has been very busy today.
It's kind of what we talked about a little bit ago. There comes a point in this race. Looks like we've reached it. And some are faring much better than others. If we stay under the green, there'll be another wave of runs onto pit road here in the next 15 to 20 laps, tops. So we'll take a break here. Jimmie Johnson leading at the Monster Mile. Dale Jr. tracking down Jimmie Johnson for the lead, and Jeff Gordon closing on both of them. As we come up to the three-quarter mark of today's AAA 400 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. Our aerial coverage today provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires that face the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. ESPN's 30 for 30 series returns Tuesday with an account of the life and death of legendary lifeguard and surfer Eddie Aikau, whose acts of bravery saved the lives of many in Hawaii's most treacherous waters. 30 for 30, Hawaiian, the legend of Eddie Aikau, presented by Buick, Tuesday at 8 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. Jeff Burton going a lap down again. He was the recipient of the free pass at the last two caution flags. Maybe hoping for a third yellow before Jimmie Johnson laps anyone else. Casey Kane would be the next car on the lead lap for the race leader to catch. How about Jeff Gordon tracking down these top two also? Talking about Junior closing in on Jimmy, but that 24 is getting a little closer to the front. Never mind the two there. He just pitted and has fresh tires.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon has done a nice job, been very strong, and seems like that he's continued to make this car better and better throughout the day, and that's the one thing that they haven't done, it seems, in these last 6 or 7 races.
Well, Jamie,
for them tires, they'll have to slow the pace down and just take the entire car out of the racetrack.
well, Jamie, sounds like that's what they got to work on this next pit stop.
And that's one of the first times we've heard anything from Jeff Gordon this run. He's been so happy with his car, and DJ, you're right, they've been adjusting all race long to get him better off the start, to get him better on the short run. But the last round of stops, all they did was put 4 fresh tires on it, no adjustments. And Jeff said to Alan, his crew chief, hey, we got our drive-off back. Thanks, bud. So he's pretty happy behind that seat, but right now you heard him say he's just a little tight in traffic, so they'll adjust for that on this next stop.
Yeah, this has been the part of the race for this 24 car that's not been good. It's the last 25%. We're in the last 100 laps now. This is the time this team needs to execute. If they're going to turn a good car, they've got a good car here, turn it into a good result.
I'll say this, I think the last couple of weeks they've improved on that. We haven't been able to see it in the results because of the flat tire at Chicago when he was running well, and then the pit mistake at New Hampshire last week, right? He was running.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But yeah, they're just not executing when they get in this red zone, we'll call it, in the last 25% of the race. And they got another opportunity today to do it.
I just thought you were just talking about handling and adjustments on the car, but yeah, not getting the results that indicate they're...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the performance has been much, much better. And, that's what kept them first part of the year from getting themselves in a better position to be a part of the chase. And they had a couple of chances when they did run well, but they didn't take advantage of those. So hopefully that will be changing here starting today.
Interesting twist. 3 drivers entered the chase without a win of the 13. 2 of them running in the top 3 of this race right now. Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. So Jeff running third. He's 1.9 seconds behind Jimmie Johnson. Matt Kenseth has fallen 6.3 seconds behind. As we check in on Matt.
Yeah, this is probably the worst run of the day for this 20 team and Matt Kenseth. They started right at the front of the race, at the beginning of the race, and they pretty much kept themselves in touch with the leader.
75 laps since the last pit stops. Beginning to see some cars trickle onto the pit lane here under the green flag.
I think Kenseth might be one of those that got their car a little bit on the free side too, and I think that's what happens is you start this race out a little bit on the tight side, and you continue to work and free it up, free it up, free it up. Next thing you know, the track changes like you talked about, and then you're way too loose.
I've been amazed just how close these 2 cars are. They just about matched lap times for the last 50, 60 laps.
Yeah, but I watched Junior move around on it. You pointed it out to me to start with, Andy, but he's really taking some time to move up the racetrack as these tires have worn some, and this really has allowed him to close in on Jimmie Johnson. As you can see, Jimmie stayed on the bottom of the track more. Junior way up the track, getting a big run off the corner.
Now remember, it was back at lap number 117 when Junior was the race leader and overshot the entrance to pit road. It dropped him from a 3.7 second lead back to 8th place, 9.3 seconds in the hole. He's had a lot of race to make up for that mistake and a couple of caution flags. This time he's got to get it right. Matt Kenseth's in, Dave.
Boy, and he rode it like a bucking bronco onto pit lane. Hopefully he was not speeding. A wedge adjustment for a car that he says is the loosest it's been all day. Air pressure as well. They'll need to fix this car if he's going to move back forward. Vince?
Well, the 29 of Chaser Kevin Harvick, they've been fighting the same problem all day long. Just too free in and off, lacking grip, making adjustments to try to get him better here, Alan.
Watching the pit stops, watching Junior try and find a way around Jimmie Johnson for the lead. Now Jimmy's going to change lanes.
Oh, imagine that. Yeah, he didn't win those 5 championships by not paying attention for sure. He saw where Junior was beating him, and it allowed him to move up, kind of impede that progress a little bit.
Now some of the cars that have the fresh tires that have already been on and off pit road here, like David Ruderman and Jeff Burton and so on, will begin to tear through some of these leaders. Looks like Jimmy's headed in. Doc?
Here's Kyle Busch making his stop, and boy, he's probably going to be about 7 or 8 laps shy on fuel. You heard the car was so very loose. Major adjustment right and left rear. 4 tires, air pressure. Got to tighten it up. Dave.
Jimmy holding off his teammate important because there's enough laps left for Junior to get the most laps left if he can get back out front. For Jimmy, this run, the car would not turn the center of the corner the way that he wanted it to. 4 tire change. Vince?
The 39 of Ryan Newman says it just gets too tight the longer they go, so they've got to work on it. Need to free it up the deeper they go into the run. Air pressure and chassis, 4 tires. Jamie?
Carl Edwards in the 99 said the corner evened out a little bit, so the car has gotten better for Carl as well. Air pressure adjustment was the call. You see the tear off there. Put some fuel in it, and it will be a 4-tire stop once again for the 99.
Man, Junior lost a bunch of time getting to the pit road there.
Yeah, that's going to cost him big time.
Got trapped in behind Mark Martin's car. And we'll see how it plays out when the whole thing exchanges out. Jeff Gordon also coming in a lap later now. And here's Junior to his pits. Vince?
Well, certainly pit road has been an issue for this team today. Junior missed it on one particular stop. You just noted the issue they had with the 14 car there. It's just a little bit too tight for Junior these last couple of runs, so they're going to continue to work on it. Chassis adjustment, 4 tires. They want this to be the last stop, so they kept Junior out there as long as they could. Jamie?
And Jeff Gordon, best run he's had all day, said he was just a little bit tight in traffic. So you see the wrench in the rear window there. Wedge adjustment is the call. 4-tire stop. He's down and away.
Clint Bowyer finishing up the cycle of stops among the leaders. Doc?
And based on what Brian Patton's calculating, Clint Bowyer will be about 2.5 to 3 laps short on fuel. Chassis adjustment with 4 tires, and they both fit. You got to be easy. You got to pack this fuel cell. Got to get him full of Sunoco gas. He's away.
So Jimmy Johnson reassumes the lead after the cycle of stops with Matt Kenseth now second, Jeff Gordon third, and Dale Jr. back to fourth.
Now, the entry to pit road and green flag pit stops has been the nemesis of this 88 car today. He had to slow way early, get in behind, and that just cost him a lot of time.
So will the caution come out? Are some people on fuel mileage runs to the finish? We'll talk about all of that as we continue. NASCAR Nonstop, powered by Chevy Silverado. Interesting developments through that last set of pit stops as we get to the later stages of today's AAA 400 at the Monster Mile in Dover. Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth now running 1 and 2 with Jeff Gordon third, Dale Jr. fourth, and Kyle Busch fifth. Look at the laps when those drivers pitted, projecting forward some numbers on when they could pit again. That's provided, that's a normal fuel window. That's not accounting for them stretching the fuel mileage any.
But you can see it's close. I mean, they're talking about in the 390s.
Now Matt Kenseth from behind the wheel of that 20 car, thinking about the fuel mileage and the strategy as well.
Accommodating driver.
Yeah, I like a driver that can think and drive at the same time.
Got it all going on.
Yeah, how to help the strategy.
The only problem is he's still short.
Didn't call him peanut butter though.
No, not this time.
Yeah. Now the one who pitted the latest of the lead lap cars in that cycle is Clint Bowyer. He stopped at lap 315. 85 to the finish.
It can be done. The last time I think we saw somebody go 89 laps, Brad Keselowski last year. He did have some help with caution flag laps in that run, but he did go 89 laps.
All right, if it goes green, we can make it, right? We damn close, bud. We're going to try like hell. Just dig in right here and get us some. Got to go green now. Dig in, man. We'll be all right here.
I'm not surprised that they're the ones that's going to try this.
Really nothing to lose there. And I would say another, I mean, Gordon came in just a lap before Bowyer did, and Jeff Gordon can do a lot of things with a race car, and safe fuel would be one of them. So kind of watch his lap times here and see if he's in that mode where he thinks he's sitting in the kind of the catbird's position and may steal this race.
I think he is by looking at some of these lap times. His lap times aren't as fast as the fastest on the track. As a matter of fact, Dale Jr. is turning some of those now. I believe he could be in that mode.
Jamie's in Jeff Gordon's pit. Jamie?
That's right. And Alan Gustafson, if he wants a driver who can save some fuel, will look no further than Jeff Gordon. 21 years experience. The team just told me he's going to be about a lap to 2 laps short. So as you guys called it, he's well aware and he's taking care of it.
Well, as far as the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is concerned, Steve Letarte wanted Jr. to stay out on the track for a couple of more laps, but when he pitted, it left him just a couple short. Now, if we get a couple of yellows in this final stint, that could change things up, but as it stands right now, Jr. will need help to get to the end. Doc?
Well, it all depends on who you ask here in the 18 pit. I talked to one of the gas guys. He said, we're about 10 laps short. I went up on the pit box and asked Dave Rogers, the crew chief, and Dave said, I think we're about 8 short. Then I asked one of the engineers. He said, we're 6 short. I figure if I keep asking, they can make it. But I guess overall, we're probably 6 to 8 short. They cannot make it the rest of the way.
It's kind of funny, you know, you get on that box and you figure you're 10 laps short, and you go, well, let's recalculate that. Let's go check it again. And every time you calculate it, it's just a little bit closer to making it. But no matter how you do it, you can only do what you can do, and we'll see how this works out.
Trying to will yourself into that calculation. And really, you know, when you look back through this group, some people can afford to risk it more than others. Clint Boyer, where he started his championship, the number of points behind, and then the 9-17, 2 finishes to open the chase. Clint came into this race at a 48-point deficit to the championship leader.
Nothing to lose, really.
There you go. Even at this point in the championship. Jimmie Johnson leading Matt Kenseth with Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr., and Kyle Busch, the top 5, 66 laps to go at the Monster Mile.
$60 laps to go here at Dover International Speedway with Jimmie Johnson still out front, so it's time for us to get you caught up on what has happened so far with the 5-Hour Energy Rapid Recap. Starting on pole for his first ever Dover pole, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he led 79 laps earlier today.
Oh, yeah, he looked really strong throughout the day, just running strong, and made that first pit stop. When he did, he got in too hot, couldn't make pit road, had to go back out on the racetrack. A big mistake for that team, but he's rebounded right now. He's back up into 4th position.
Fastest car on the racetrack as well. Trouble for the defending race winner, the defending champ, Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, it looks like Brad had a rear seal blow out in his race car. Too bad. Went in, fixed it, got back on the track, but he's way down.
And surprise, surprise, Jimmie Johnson, 7-time winner here at this track already, going for an 8th Dover win. So far today, Alan, he has been out front 187 laps.
Well, he's going to lead the most laps today, Nicole, but the question is, does he get the trophy to go with it and to set that all-time record here at the Monster Mile? At this most brutal of racetracks, the Monster Mile. No one has spun, no one has crashed, and people are just sliding around with their hands full, it looks like, out there a lot, trying to keep control of these race cars and to see if they've got enough fuel to make it to the finish also. Jimmie Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., your top 4. Junior's 7 1/3 seconds back.
We and everybody else is short from here. I don't think anybody can make it. We didn't get enough laps until you had to pit there, so we're probably at least 4 short. I don't think anybody can make it. Everybody pitted in front of us, so just keep doing what you're doing. I'd ask you to help us, but it's way too much. You can't do that. We would just lose spots and still not make it.
Steve Letarte explaining where they're at to Dale Jr.
Yeah, you can only do what you can do. And if you are short, you don't want to try to save fuel, because all you're doing then is just giving up a lot of time and positions. If they need to do right, you can see how frustrated Letarte is. He just being on that edge.
Yeah, they're just looking for that next caution, whether it's a spring rubber or whatever it might be. They would like to have that opportunity to get into the pits, get some tires, and have a chance to win this race.
I'll be surprised if it goes green to the finish, because our probability says that we'll have a caution within the last 35 laps.
Dale Jr. pitted at 3:13. Jimmie Johnson, the race leader, pitted at 3:11, Dave.
And he'll have to pit again, AB. They've just informed the leader of the race that he'll have to come down pit road one more time. We'll see when they pull the trigger on that one.
Well, back to what Andy just said about the caution probabilities. Yellow flag setting up a last green flag run of between 27 and 36 laps in 4 of the last 5 Dover races. There is one exception to that, but your probability says you're going to have that yellow with somewhere between 40 and 30 to go.
Yeah, so what do you go by? You go by historical probabilities, or do you look at what we've had today? And actually yesterday too, we saw green flag runs in the nationwide race yesterday.
You're the crew chief. You're supposed to tell us.
Well, I'm expecting a caution, especially if I'm not Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at what's going to help me.
Well, Matt Kenseth has not been able to stay with Jimmie Johnson. He was 2.6 seconds behind Jimmie after the cycle of pit stops. And you see he's lost a couple of seconds. Now, is that pedaling to save fuel? Or, like in the last run of the race we saw, the handling of that 20 car not being what it was earlier?
This could be fuel savings on his part, because we heard that They could say he could save some fuel, and just hearing that in his voice, it's like, well, how much can you save? They might be trying this. Hard to say right now.
What do you think?
Well, I'm looking at the lap times. They haven't really slowed up enough, in my mind, to be able to save enough. So I think they're probably planning on pitting.
Yeah, I think they are too. I don't think they can make it. I think Jeff Gordon may be in that situation that he's trying to save some, continue to run hard, keep them in sight. But I think Jimmie Johnson's just better. I think he was able to pull away from Kenseth, and his car's been the best on the longer runs all day.
Well, talking about do you go by the historical data or by what you've seen today? What you've seen today are 2 of the 5 longest green flag runs of this season.
Just amazes me that how good the cars and the drivers have become, because I mean we used to see people spin out here, set up how difficult a racetrack. I know this track hasn't changed since I drove on it. It was a tough racetrack.
Yeah, did you see the one that was on top of the list? Well, Darlington. That's probably the toughest racetrack.
Carl Edwards had high hopes coming into Dover, but the reality was starting the day, their hopes were kind of tempered. Car not behaving in practice as they wished it to. And now Carl about to go a lap down to the race leader. He's running in 13th. And for the driver who started today, 4th in the championship, 36 points behind Matt Kenseth. The way you gain points in the championships by running ahead of him, not behind.
Yeah, you got to have your cars ready to go lead and win races and put yourself in that position anyways. You see Carl getting ready to go that lap down, but Carl and this team just hasn't been able to do that yet. I will mention his teammate Greg Biffle, who spent a lot of time right around the 10th and 12th spot the other day. Once again, has worked his way back up inside the top 10 to 7th today. But these teams just don't have what we see in those, what we will call the contenders right now, where you've got that speed and that reliability in your car to make a championship run.
Jimmie Johnson out in front in his Chevrolet as we go NASCAR nonstop, powered by the all-new Chevy Silverado.
I work hard, I play harder. I'm a good-timing American daughter. Redneck, blue collar, and I party down to my last dollar.
Jimmie Johnson is a bad man here at the Monster Mile. 7-time winner, looking for an all-time record-setting 8th. Jimmie out in front with 38 to go, but a little fuel mileage drama unfolding toward the end of today's race. Time for unlimited access to the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with NASCAR Mobile 13 and unlimited talk, text, and data on the Sprint Network. 17 lead changes on the day. Jimmie Johnson leading the most laps, taking the lead 4 times for 207 circuits. Get unlimited access to the NASCAR Mobile 13 app with the unlimited My Way plan, guaranteed for life and only from Sprint. See sprint.com/speed for details. Johnson leading Matt Kenseth by 4.7 seconds. With Jeff Gordon 5 1/3 seconds back, Dale Jr. 6.2 seconds behind, and Kyle Busch trailing by 11.5 seconds in 5th place. Leaders all stopping between laps 3:08 and 3:15. Setting up, if we don't see the caution flag again, a round of splash and go pit stops for most everybody. Though we think Clint Bowyer is on an economy run and going to try and make it 85 laps on his final tank of fuel. So there are the numbers on the top 5. And with those last pit stops only being short ones, Andy, Bowyer's got to be careful he doesn't fall too far behind. He's still got a cushion, but he's got to be careful he doesn't fall too far behind.
Yeah, he does, because he can't just slow up a second or two on the racetrack, try to save this fuel, because with just those leaders coming in for a splash, they're not going to lose a lot of track position. Although I'll say this, this 35-mile-per-hour speed limit on this pit road is going to cost them a lot. You'll just have to see how much lead he has when they do make their stop.
Nice as food, man. I know you want to be aggressive, but you got to be smart here, brother. We got a great strategy.
Sir, save me some gas. But we got to stay in front of the 48. He'll probably pit with 10 to go.
Spotter Brett Griffin, crew chief Brian Patty. Making sure Clint knows what the situation is.
Yeah, what do you say? Stay in front of the 48 because Clint is now 22 seconds behind the 48, which means that Jimmy's only a few seconds behind him. Need to stay on the lead lap to make this work in case the caution comes out.
Absolutely.
There's Jimmy. Not that far behind Clint.
Now, once Jimmy makes his stop, then he can use whatever lead he has to try to save.
Caution. Caution out.
Debris.
Something reported low in turn 3 by race control.
Disregard everything we were talking about.
There it is, another spring rubber.
No wonder these cars aren't driving good. They can't get spring rubbers in.
So this changes everything.
Okay, this is what we talked about, these late race decisions with 30 laps to go, whether to get 2 tires or 4 tires. It's going to be a gut check for some of these guys like Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth, the guys that have a lot to lose here.
On the caution at lap 39, 5 teams took just 2 tires. It worked out fairly well for one, Clint Bowyer. For the rest of them, they lost a little bit of track position in the ensuing run. A little. Some lost a ton, like Martin Truex. What do you do here?
Yeah, but you see, that was a lot of laps. So yes. From lap 39 to 105. We only have to go 30 laps now, so you can't really look at exactly how that worked out.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch got 2 tires. He started from the front, restarted, and drove away from everybody. So I think you got to get 2 right here.
Remember the narrow Dover pit lane. If you're getting ready to leave your pits when others are just coming in, there might be a little contact, though there are only 11 cars on the lead lap. And Matt Kenseth will hit first, Dave.
And the first call was for 4, but they know that everyone can see them pit first. Jimmy Johnson's first call was for 2, so we'll see what they do. It is going to be right sides only for the 20, also on the 48. Doc.
And the 24, Jeff Gordon said right sides only. Now's the time to try it. They want a half round of wedge as well to help that car. They'll put just enough fuel to make it to the end. Vince?
Big discussion between 2 tires or 4 tires for the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. They were going to go with 2, but they think they've got enough time on pit road. Now they're looking at a 4-tire change, putting enough fuel in it to get it going. It's definitely going to be 4 for the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's see if it pays off.
You know what? He's not going to.
I think I like it. I like it. Do something different.
Going to come in 4th and stay 4th.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how this restart goes in a minute. Real quick look at why that 4-tire call worked for Dale Jr. and Steve Letarte. They held 4th spot. There's Jr. and there's the gap back to Kyle Busch, the green and white car. That's the pad that allowed them to make the 4-tire change and still hold 4th spot.
Steve Letarte called an audible, and I believe it's going to work out for him.
26 to go.
Right there was the key that he could get to 2nd place for sure.
Joey Logano around Jeff Gordon to 3rd.
Gordon's car has not been the best on these restarts and fresh tires. It takes his car about 10, 12 laps to really come in.
He can keep from losing anything else. He'll be okay.
The problem for Gordon's going to be he's one of the few cars, the last cars that's on 2 tires. These other cars behind him have 4.
Going to the garage.
That was Carl Edwards. Turning to the garage. And Dale Jr. eating up Jimmy Johnson off turn 2.
Jr.'s going to just taste it right there. He's got it within his grasp.
Update from Jamie that Carl Edwards has a broken left rear hub on the 99. 4th and points starting the day.
Now, I don't know how good Joey Logano's car is now. We've seen him up here a couple of times, but Junior needs to get up and make his pass before Logano can get there. So he can either, if he needs to try the outside or inside, whatever he needs to do, but he doesn't need to be worrying about the car behind him.
Kyle Busch trying to defend 6th place from Kevin Harvick on the right. Junior trying to take advantage of having 4 fresh tires versus the 2 that Jimmy Johnson's team changed.
See Johnson having a little harder time with not having those left side tires and keeping his car down like Junior. Jimmy doing a great job of keeping him back there. But it's taking every bit of control and driver ability that Jimmy Johnson has to do that right now.
What was it Ray said earlier? Superman's got his cape on?
Yeah. Okay, we got 20 laps left, though, Dale. Is it going to get better for Jimmy or worse in this run, you think?
No, I think it's only going to get worse as this run goes on, and that's why Junior can be a little bit patient. But, again, you don't want to let anybody else creep in here. Plus, you want to get there in case the caution comes out to where you can be controlling that restart.
Junior tried that high line earlier and was able to close in and get a big run on it.
Yeah, right now the speeds are up too high for that to work. That works better whenever after you've run some laps and the tires have worn and the times have slowed down, you can carry that momentum. But Jimmy Johnson's still running laps that are pretty fast right now, so probably not going to be able to make that higher line work at this time. You're going to have to get there, try to get to his bumper and loosen that car up.
It definitely didn't work last lap, about 1/4 of a second slower for Junior.
Junior's got time now. It just doesn't look like Logano's going to be coming towards him. His car is decent on this run. But I believe it's going to be down to these 2 in front, and Junior's just going to have to try to figure out a way to get to the bumper. That's the hard thing these drivers tell me about these cars is actually getting to that point of that bumper because the air just doesn't allow them to do it.
He's not going to have a better opportunity than he has right now. He's got 4 tires. He's had as good a car as Jimmy's had all day long.
Kyle Busch managed to fend off Kevin Harvick for 6th place, now closing on Matt Kenseth for 5th. Top 2 in the championship.
Now this would be a victory of sorts if Kyle Busch can get by Kenseth, finish in front of him there today. Doesn't look like Kenseth's car really likes this 2-tire setup on it.
Well, we saw that 18 car just being evil earlier in the race, darting around all over the place.
He's got to run up on the high side now. Couldn't quite get to his quarter panel.
Now, even if he gets around him, you call it a little bit of a victory, but it's still only 1 point.
It is. Yeah,
still in the right direction.
You know, 1 point.
But one at a time.
Yeah.
And then you get to the day that you're the better car and can lead the laps and get the maximum points for a day. He is able to take that spot away now.
You don't think 1 point's worth something? Ask Carl Edwards.
Yeah.
I don't think now's a good time.
No, not now. No. Don't ask him today.
So Kyle up to 5th. He's got about a second before he can catch Jeff Gordon, though. And now Matt Kenseth finds himself falling into the clutches of Kevin Harvick.
And so that opens up. Kyle Busch got by. That opens up the door for someone else to get by. So it may turn out to be 2 points.
There you go.
So that's different ways of looking. There's others that could possibly be coming. I tell you what, I'm impressed with Jimmy Johnson to watch him. He's changed his line just a little bit on these 2 tires, and it's allowed him to keep a little bit of a distance between himself and the 88, who's on those 4 fresh tires. But that's just what makes Jimmy Johnson such a champion, to watch him adjust whenever you put him in this type of situation. He finds out where his car's the best and gets the job done.
And we've seen this 88 car. It's been good all day. He's got 4 tires. He's got an advantage.
But you can see the difference in what's happening here. Watch him. Well, he's going to run around his teammate there, Casey Kane, who I think is having an engine problem right now. But whenever he makes his run down into turn 3 here, he's going to go up the racetrack a little bit in the center, and if Junior gets by there, but that allows him to drive this car straight off. So he goes in the bottom, lets it drift up just a little bit, turns it down, and then he doesn't have to lift on the exit. Junior's going around the bottom, but he's got more steering wheel in it. That's actually slowing him down just a little bit.
Casey Kane, it is confirmed from the pit lane, is an engine problem on the 5. He just went a lap down. He took a wave around to get back on the lead lap at the last yellow. Carl Edwards back on the racetrack after repairs to his car, 15 laps down, 35th place.
The one thing Jimmie Johnson will have here, and he's got less than 10 laps to go now, sometimes you do that and let you carry that speed through the center of the corner like that. You can heat that right front tire up just a little bit, then it won't grip quite as well on that exit of the corner for you.
Just watching the lap times, though, they're just about matching laps. Time's running out for Junior.
See right there, Junior moved up a little bit to see if he could drive his car straighter off the corner, be able to stay in the throttle. See if he could find any way possible to gain any kind of time on Jimmie Johnson.
Denny Hamlin, who stayed out to take a wave around, so he's on older tires, courteously giving the leaders plenty of room to race.
See right there through the middle of the corner, Junior can close the gap, but on the exit where Jimmy gets the run.
Yeah, you can see Junior having to use up the whole racetrack in trying to do that, where Jimmy's driving straighter off the corner and carrying that speed.
Mr. Hendrick gets so nervous watching his cars when they get close to a win.
Especially when you got 2 of them racing for it.
Yeah.
He's in a good spot. He's got 3 of the top 4, but you have to be nervous and not knowing what could ever happen. These drivers are competitive.
Well, after being shown up a little bit by Joe Gibbs Racing for most of the last 2 months, with the Gibbs Toyotas winning 5 of the last 7. Right now it's Hendrick Motorsports running 1, 2, and 4 as we're inside the final 4 laps. Message delivered, they're not going to go away easily.
No.
Not that anybody thought they would, really, but just sometimes results have ways of making the loudest statements.
And we can give you all the stats that you want, but you got to go out and back it up for 400 more miles, and Jimmie Johnson looks like he might just do that once again.
Well, for Dale Jr., certainly one of the best races we've seen for him in some time. Had a chance to win it, started on the pole, had the pit road mistake at lap 95, overcame that, got held up getting to pit road, overcame that. The great strategy call by Stevie Letarte on the last stop. He's going to come up a little bit short, it looks like, but a good drive for the 88 today.
It's been a solid weekend for them, and that's the important thing, is they were able to go and put together an entire weekend without a lot of struggles. They're going to look back on this, and that deals on pit road cost them.
Lap traffic ahead.
I know, that's what I'm looking at. Wouldn't give it to him just yet. I know it looks good for Jimmy.
It's only got another lap to go.
You're closing, though.
White flags in the air. Final mile at Dover. Will the lap traffic be a factor? Can Jimmie Johnson score the win?
He's going to be right here. Can he stay in the throttle all the way? Yep, able to clear that car.
Richard Petty, Bobby Allison. Jimmy was tied with him for most wins at Dover. Now the record is his alone. Jimmie Johnson dominates the Monster Mile and wins the 3rd race in the chase.
Thank you, brother. Max points, my man. Max points. Well done. Very proud of you. You drove your ass off there. Big crew, good job. Earl, good job. Everybody, mechanics, thanks for all the hard work. I know it wasn't easy this week. Yes. Thank you, guys.
I'll tell you what, he earned this one for sure.
Chad Canals has a lot of good sayings, I know, but I think his best is, he loves to say more than anything, Max points.
That's it.
He got him today.
And Chad Canals getting a record for himself today. He was tied with Leonard Wood, the Hall of Fame crew chief, for most wins at Dover as a crew chief. Now that record is Chad's alone as well.
A future Hall of Famer.
you were saying before, going to be a lot of worn-out drivers at the end of this one.
Ooh, I guarantee you, that's a lot of green flag racing today. That takes a toll on the drivers. But people that work hard at it, like Jimmie Johnson, there's not a better athlete around here in this sport than Jimmie Johnson. He works hard to condition himself for these types of events.
Couple of notes.
That's pretty good.
The attempt by Matt Kenseth to win a third straight chase race falls a few positions short. And for Jimmie Johnson, this optimistically, the winner of this Dover race has gone on to win the championship 3 of the last 4 years.
So that's a good sign for Jimmie.
Yeah, how tough this place is. And they come here and the top 10, all chase drivers.
The first time ever that's happened. All of the chase drivers, the top 10.
Seems like it might take a minute or two for Jimmie Johnson to get to victory lane, so let's check down where some of the other top finishers have parked. Vince?
Well, they opened the chase 35th with the motor problem in Chicagoland, but the last 2 weeks, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and this 88 crew have been about as good as any. A strong run today. First car with 4 tires there. Did you think that was going to be enough to get it done?
Yeah, I did. That's real disappointing there, but Jimmy's just really that fast. You know, he's that good around this place, and I thought we might be able to get to him, and I was definitely going to do whatever I could to win if I could get him within reach, but I just couldn't even get to him. So I just real disappointed. Obviously thank National Guard and Diamond Mountain Dew and all our partners, Time Warner Cable. A couple good weekends. These are 2 of the best cars I've had all year in the last 2 weeks. So I got to thank the team and Steve and them. But running second's no better than running 10th to be. So I'd like to get a trophy here soon.
A couple of issues on pit lane today. Do you think ultimately that had any effect on where you finished?
Yeah, I take responsibility for getting a little too eager coming on the pit road for that green flag stop. Lucky we didn't have any more trouble with that whole deal. I didn't know what the heck the rules were with that, so figuring we got off pretty light. But we had a fast enough car to get back to the leaders, but you got to be the leader on that last start. You can't. You see most of these races are won by the guy leading at the last restart or after the last round of pit stops. So that wasn't us today, and I'll take responsibility for that mess up on coming on the pit road for sure.
Yeah, but still a very strong day for the 88. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is second. Jamie?
And his teammate Jeff Gordon finishes 4th today. Well, you had a great car at times and kind of a slow car when you got going for a while. If this thing were to have gone green the rest of the way, what do you think you had for him? I know you were saving fuel for a while.
Well, I think we definitely had that strategy nailed. We came in, stretched it as far as we could, and the team did an excellent job getting it full of fuel, and I was saving most of that run, so we were 4 short. I feel very confident, but that doesn't matter. The caution came out, and we just did not have a short-run car. We took 2 to get track position, which won the race, but just didn't work for our car. So all in all, a great day for the Exalted Chromax Chevrolet, and I was very happy with just the whole overall performance of everybody, and I was having fun. And congrats to Jimmy. He's so tough here. That no surprise that he won. Great job by Junior too. That was fun to watch.
Biggest gain in the points by any driver is you. You gained 3, you've moved up. You're tied technically in points for 4th, so they put you 5th. Looking at the big picture, moving on to Kansas, Jeff, what do you think about your chances?
Oh, well, we keep performing the way we've been performing. The driver can't slide into the pit stall too far, and we just got to keep, knocking out good pit stops and having good race cars like we've had. I'm very excited and motivated by how well this team has stepped up ever since the chase has come around, and I can't wait to get to the next race.
Solid day for Jeff Gordon.
Jamie, in 10 years that the chase format has been used to determine NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Jimmie Johnson has won 24% of all of the races. Wow. And he did it again today. Dominating performance at Dover. Jimmie Johnson, our Goodyear superior performer at the Monster Mile, leading 243 of 400 laps. He sure knows how to find his way to Dover's victory lane. 8 wins at the Monster Mile for Jimmie Johnson.
I did not want to see that last caution. I felt like we were really in front parking position. Tires are, we're just sitting there riding, trying to get to the end, and then we had to make a decision on 2 tires, 4 tires.
Clearing a place in the Dover record books for himself. Jimmy Johnson with an 8th victory here today. But the last run, I had crew chiefs tell me 2 tires will not beat 4 tires. How did you hold off your teammate?
I was fast in the car, but not fast getting out of the car, so I'm sorry to keep you waiting, everybody. But yeah, 2 worked good for us in practice. And believe me, I wanted to see 4 tires lined up in the 4th or 5th row. When they lined up right behind me, I thought I was going to have my hands full. And I really did. I mean, Junior drove a whale of a race, and the track position really gave me the advantage I needed to hold him off. And we were able to get the Scobalt-Twill Chevrolet in victory lane. So very excited, very happy to have Mr. Hendrick here. Wish that I had my family here. Just want to say hi to my girls at home. Thank you to all the fans. Thank you to Sprint. It's just an awesome day and awfully timely in the scheme of things.
Only 8 points behind Matt now, Jimmy. How strong is this team going forward for the championship?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we're all these teams are great, and when you put the 18 and 20 up there, it's going to make it a very difficult deal, and I think it's going to be fun for the fans to watch. And we came to a good track, and we got what we needed to done. So I know that 20 is going to be awfully strong through the rest of the stretch, and I look forward to racing them.
Can you talk about your place in the record books now? Used to be you and Richard Petty and Bobby Allison. Now it's just you at Dover.
It's incredible to do anything that Bobby or Richard has done. This is quite an accomplishment. We've had a few sneak away from us here too over the years, so just so happy to get that done and be the sole leader of race wins here. It's a very special day.
Jimmy Johnson, a great year of 2013 at Dover. This one ends in victory.
Well, Dave asked about it a second ago. Jimmy Johnson edging ahead of the King, Richard Petty, and Bobby Allison, 2 of NASCAR's Hall of Famers and all-time greats for most wins at this very, very tough track.
Yeah, look at the start. Only 24 for Jimmy versus 46 for Richard, 35 for Bobby Allison.
Yeah, 33% at any track. That's pretty high. That's incredible, especially a place as tough as this.
Yeah. So Jimmy Johnson, the winner today at the Monster Mile, and gaining some ground in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on Matt Kenseth, who had won the first 2 races in the chase. We're not done yet. More post-race coverage coming up from Dover. A cool scene any driver would love to see and be part of. Jimmy Johnson celebrating once again in the Monster Miles victory lane.
Computer games than go camping. And a valley. And a river.
Back over here.
Victory celebration in the chaos of victory lane. Continuing as we look at the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup standings after the 3rd of 10 races. The top spot being trimmed from 14 down to 8 points between Matt Kenseth and now Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, still a great battle that we have with a lot of racing to go. That's what every one of these drivers will tell you. And the ones that, Harvick and Jeff Gordon sitting there, know they're in a position because there's some tough racetracks coming up.
Hard luck day for Carl Edwards with that late problem, dropping him from 4th to 11th in the championship. And next weekend it is on to the Kansas Speedway, 1.5 mile super speedway racing. Goodyear bringing that new Zone Tread tire. Interesting to see how that goes. It is next Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN. Then the only night race in the chase in Charlotte, and the wild card at Talladega, the wild card. Join us at the track, NASCAR.com/tickets, or the number at the bottom of the screen. Matt Kenseth is still the championship leader, Vince.
After opening the chase with a pair of victories, Matt Kenseth brings it home 7th today at Dover, still holding on to that championship lead, going to a place we should add, Kansas, where you've won a couple of times. So that's the good news. But I know you didn't have the kind of day you wanted today. How would you describe it?
Yeah, we struggled a little bit. We qualified really good, had a really good Friday, had pretty good pit stops today, and had our track position. But once we got in 2 tires there and lost our track position at the very end, I knew we were going to drop back. So it's disappointing to run in the top 3 or 4 all day and then finish 7th. That was the worst position I think we had all day. So that part is disappointing. You always want to try to do the opposite, but overall, I think we got a decent finish out of a car. We just didn't want to have what we needed to really race with the 48 and those guys.
And how about going to Kansas, if you mind looking ahead to a place you've had a lot of success?
You never know what's going to happen. I mean, I kind of I don't want to say dreaded, but Loudon has always been one of my worst tracks, and this has been always one of my best. So you just never know what's going to happen. I feel good about this stretch. Dover, Kansas, Charlotte have all been great tracks that I really enjoy, that our performance has been pretty good at. So I'm looking forward to getting there.
Still the championship leader, Matt Kenseth, 7th today.
Well, Kyle Busch brings it home 5th today. Seemed like the car was pretty good overall. You had a stint there that you were obviously pretty loose and you hung on to it. Where overall do you feel like you guys just missed it?
A little bit everywhere. I mean, we fought the same exact things in practice. We didn't make any gains on it really this weekend, which is frustrating, but yet, we knew we had a good car. We had a top 5, 5th to 7th place car actually, and we got a 5th out of it. So, we got the most of what we could with the Interstate Batteries Camry today. Thank M&M's, Toyota, Monster Energy, but it's 3 straight top 5s to start the chase. It's certainly appealing, and you could be happy with it, but we're a little disappointed at the same time. We felt like we wanted to come in here, we wanted to run better, we could run better here, we have before, and just never could really get the feel that I was looking for the whole weekend with the front tires.
Well, you talked about you've had 3 top 5s to start this chase, something we haven't seen from you, and I know that's something you've had to adjust to, just taking what the car can give you. What is it like driving the car knowing, okay, this is as good as it's going to be today, but that's what we need?
Yeah, there was a few times probably should have wrecked, but glad I didn't, and we hung on to it and we made it to the next pit stop. We were definitely wrecking loose there in the middle stages of the race, middle third anyway probably, and just was happy that we were able to work hard and continue to get good changes to the car, and there at the end we got good changes to it. The balance was really, really close. I mean, there wasn't much that I could say to change as far as the way the car felt. It just wasn't fast enough. We just didn't quite have enough front turn like some of the other cars had. So, we definitely got to go to work on a different package for here, I believe.
Kyle Busch is now 3rd in the points.
There's no questions the fans saw a great race today, but so did the guy who owns the top 2 finishers, Rick Hendrick. Tell us what it's like watching Junior trying to catch Jimmy at the end of the race after they both had such a good, strong day.
Yeah, the 88 Junior was so strong early, and I thought when he got the 4 tires, he might be trouble for Jimmy, but it was a great race, great day for all the guys. Jimmy, congratulations to Lowe's, and then the guard was here, General Grass, and so it was a great day for those guys. And Dale, it was close, and then Jeff came home 4th, so it was a great day.
And can you talk about the fact that now your driver, Jimmy Johnson, is the winningest driver in Sprint Cup here? He moved beyond Richard Petty. He moved beyond Bobby Allison today with this 8th win.
When you move ahead of those 2 guys, you've done a lot, and it's unbelievable how good that guy is here. I mean, he is just, as Chad says, he's money at Dover, but he's got a feel for this place, and I think he's going to win some more before it's over.
Congratulations to you today. Thanks for your time, and enjoy Victory Lane.
Thank you.
Rick Hendrick, owner of the 88 and the 48, the winner today. AB.
Dave, thanks. And DJ and Andy, your thoughts. What will you take away more from this? Opportunity missed for Dale Jr. or just how strong Jimmy Johnson is at this racetrack and at the end of that race?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think Junior had the opportunity. It was right there. Could he have beat Jimmy Johnson? You thought he was in the best scenario that he could possibly do. I think that it shows me just how good Jimmy Johnson is at this racetrack. You're going to have a hard time beating him. You're going to have to be more than on your game to do that, and not sure that that's going to slow down as we go through this chase either.
Yeah, and this track is truly a driver's racetrack, and I think Jimmy Johnson proved that today, and that's why he's had so much success. He is a great talent behind that steering wheel, but I do think that it was an opportunity miss for Junior because he had you couldn't ask for a better situation. He had a great car all day long. He had 4 tires against 2 tires with, 25 to go. It doesn't get any better than that. It's never easy, but it never gets a better opportunity than that.
Well, to borrow a phrase, Nicole, Superman had his cape on at the end of this one today, and Jimmie Johnson picked up an 8th win at Dover.
I do believe that's what Ray Abraham said about Jimmie Johnson earlier today. You know, down here in the Quicken Loans ESPN pit studio, we were talking about the incredible consistency in the chase so far among the top 3 drivers in points. Matt Kenseth, 2.6. Kyle Busch, 3rd place. Jimmie Johnson, 3.3. That's not bad. That is definitely raising the bar, and that's what we've seen the last several years in the chase. When you get to the playoffs, you find that extra gear, and the top guys, the cream just rises.
Yeah, they dig really, really hard. I'm looking at the finishing order. The top 10 finishers are all chasers, and it was just amazing what happened out there. I mean, these guys just really got it done. All of them did. But, you know, I want to go back to Jimmie Johnson for a while because we all wondered where Jimmie Johnson went about a month ago. He was having so much problems. And then all of a sudden the chase started. We all said, you think he's going to get the gear, get the right gear, get this baby going once he gets to the chase? He found it. He found it. Not only did he find it, but he dominated today. I mean, we thought it was going to be Matt Kenseth, maybe Kyle Busch because of what they'd done the first couple of races. But, man, very, very impressive out of Johnson, and he's there.
Yeah, Jimmy's an unbelievable talent, just like Andy Petrie said. But, man, what a day for Dale Earnhardt Jr. It was so close. He had everything lined up to have a great opportunity to get a victory today, and just couldn't quite get by his teammate and Jimmie Johnson. And I think Jimmie has fired that shot across the bow. If you're going to win a championship, even though Matt's got 8 points on him, it's still going to have to go through that 48.
He definitely has, and as disappointed as Dale Earnhardt Jr. was to not get the win today. You did hear him say, running second, it's about as good as running 10th to me. More post-race coverage coming up.
Winning always feels good. Jimmie Johnson's team celebrating as their 48 car flashed under the checkered flag today at the Monster Mile, scoring his 8th win at this so difficult racetrack and the 65th of his NASCAR Sprint Cup Series career, 5th win of this season. So Jimmie wins it at Dover, and we look ahead to next weekend's action, reminding you that later on tonight, the AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Nationals final eliminations for the NHRA Dragsters are on ESPN 2 at 8:30 Eastern. Then next weekend, Nationwide Series Championship, Sam Hornish, Austin Dillon, so close. Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, ESPN. And then next Sunday, Race 4 in the Chase. Telecast presented by Dodge Trucks from the Kansas Speedway at 1 Eastern Time on ESPN. And as Jimmie continues with the post-race ritual of pictures with the miles of the Monster Trophy, a thought ahead now to next Sunday's Kansas race, another 1.5 mile track with, remembering back to the Chicagoland Speedway, what a fight that was at the front of the pack. Anybody have the upper hand, and what are we expecting?
Well, I think if there's anybody that has the upper hand, Matt Kenseth won the last 2 races there, so he certainly would be strong again. And you're going to have to figure out a way to beat these top 3 in the points because they have shown that they're the 3 drivers and teams to be ready for this.
Yeah, and I want to talk about one of those drivers, that 18 car of Kyle Busch. I think he did a great job today because he had some adversity to fight through, and it proved to me that he is in this thing and he is going to be a contender to the finish.
So the top 3 in the championship shine pretty brightly on one of the circuit's most difficult tracks, the Monster Mile in Dover. And in the end, Jimmie Johnson sets a record all-time 8th win at this racetrack, surpassing Richard Petty and Bobby Allison for that honor. SportsCenter is next.
Get out of my yard.
The monster. He has tactics, intimidation, aggression, fury.
Close call. Oh, he missed it.
That was a mistake.
If you're good, you're really good. And if you're off, you're really off.
It takes patience to slay a beast.
Dig in right here, get us up.
Control your fear and win your freedom.
Jimmie Johnson dominates the Monster Mile and wins the 3rd race in the Chase.